Chapter 191. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found on the internet are available here. Little Jing Kong put on his clothes and pulled up his pants. He jumped on the bed and continued to show off. Jiao Jiao carried me here. Xiao Lulang. Heh. Little Jing Kong raised his chin. Jiao Jiao even brought me my clothes. She's so considerate. Xiao Lulang. Heh heh. Little Jing Kong got out of bed and started to look for Gu Jiao. Where's Jiao Jiao? She went to the clinic, Xiao Lulang said. Little Jing Kong was disappointed. Oh. He wasn't in a good mood when he didn't see Jiao Jiao in the morning. He glanced at his bad brother-in-law. Jiao Jiao and I slept together. You didn't. He was in a good mood when he showed off. Xiao Lulang swore that if the little monk dared to show off for the third time, he would tell him the truth. Fortunately, little Jing Kong shook his head and went to find someone else to show off. Since Gu Jiao wasn't around, Xiao Lulang made breakfast. The whole family looked at the big black lump in the bowl and collectively lost their appetite. It was rare for the old lady to wake up so early, but this was what you made me eat. Little Jing Kong's little face scrunched up. He wasn't a picky eater, but he didn't eat poison either. Why aren't you eating? Xiao Lulang asked. Everyone's mouth twitched and gave him a sidelong glance. Don't you know why you're not eating? Why don't you take a bite and show us? Xiao Lulang also refused in his heart. Adhering to the principle of not wasting food, the family still braced themselves and ate the unknown paste in the bowl. Other people's culinary skills were getting better and better, but Xiao Lulang was getting worse and worse. Gu Yan was so disgusted by the taste that he rolled his eyes. I have to take 2 more heart medicine. After an indescribable breakfast, the family left Xiao Lulang and had a small meeting. Little Jing Kong stuck out his tongue and said, Bad brother-in-law, you're not allowed to enter the kitchen anymore. If I fainted in class today, it must be because I ate his breakfast and got poisoned. Gu Yan, Gu Xiaoshun, and the old lady nodded in unison. They unanimously decided to blacklist Xiao Lulang in the kitchen. As long as he did not starve to death, he was not allowed to enter the kitchen again. After missing Xue Ningxiang, the whole family began to miss the old chancellor. Even the old lady, who was inexplicably angry whenever she saw the old chancellor, felt that at least the guy's culinary skills were reliable. The old chancellor was very busy these days. He was busy playing hide-and-seek with the emperor. He couldn't really let the emperor find out about Jadewater Alley, so after moving out of the inn, he rented a small courtyard in the suburbs. That courtyard was signed by the guarantor and registered in the yamen. The emperor followed the clues and found this place in a few days. On the first day, the old chancellor was not here. On the second day, the old chancellor was still not here. On the third day, the fourth day. On the fifth day, the 2 eunuchs who were squatting nearby finally saw the old chancellor. One eunuch was responsible for delaying the old chancellor, while the other eunuch rushed back to the palace to report to the emperor. Just like this, on an ordinary afternoon, the emperor saw the old chancellor whom he had not seen for 3 years. The old chancellor looked much older than 3 years ago. Nonsense, he deliberately blew the cold wind for an hour on the way here. His hair was messy and his mouth was blown. Your Majesty. The old chancellor walked down the carriage and bowed to the emperor. With his appearance, how could the emperor bear for him to bow? He hurriedly supported him with both hands. My dear minister, please get up. The old chancellor displayed his palace-level acting skills. His eyes were red and glistening with tears. I'm no longer a minister in the imperial court. Calling me your dear minister is too serious. It's windy outside. My dear minister, you need to take care of your body. Let's talk inside. The truth was that the emperor had been waiting here for 15 minutes. It was so cold that his teeth were chattering. The 2 of them entered the house. The house was simple and crude, but it was cleaned up by Lu Quan. The emperor thought it would be warmer after entering the house. Unexpectedly, he thought too much. There was no charcoal brazier in the house, so the temperature was almost the same as outside. The emperor was shivering from the cold. He felt that the old chancellor had a hard time these few years. The old chancellor's reaction was very calm, as if he was used to such a bad living environment. He said gently, "Your Majesty hasn't drunk the tea I made for a long time. Lu Quan, boil a pot of water and bring it over." "Yes." Lu Quan went to the kitchen to boil a pot of water. The old chancellor personally brewed a pot of Longjing tea. The emperor was used to the good tea in the palace. Drinking this kind of old tea was no different from drinking rancid water. He finally couldn't help but ask, "My dear minister, why are you living such a poor life?" Even if the old chancellor was an honest official who only took the imperial court salary, he shouldn't be in such dire straits. An ordinary official's family had to raise a huge harem. However, the old chancellor's wife died early and he didn't have a son. His salary was enough for him to live a rich life. The old chancellor thought to himself, "Wasn't he robbed by your mother? Forget it, he's not your biological son." Speaking of the current emperor's life experience, it was actually a little pitiful. His birth mother was only a little palace maid who got pregnant with the late emperor's favor by chance. In the harem of Zhao country, the concubines below the third rank weren't qualified to raise the emperor's son. After he was born, he was sent to concubine Jing's palace and was raised by her. The old chancellor smiled and said, "I feel that this kind of simple life is very good. It makes one feel peaceful. The imperial court has been going through ups and downs for so many years. It's rare to have such a peaceful time." When he said this, His Majesty really felt a little touched. As the emperor of a country, he had never had a peaceful day from the imperial court to the harem. When he was waiting for the old chancellor in the cold wind, he had the least distracting thoughts in his heart. Sitting in the room now, he didn't have to worry about the imperial court situation. It was really a steal of leisure. The emperor suddenly felt that this room didn't seem so unbearable. "My dear minister, did you come back to the capital to see Elder Feng?" He had heard the news of Elder Feng's death. He felt sorry for such an excellent talent. The old chancellor nodded. "It's for Elder Feng. I also want to see your Majesty." The emperor sighed. "I've reopened the Directorate of Imperial Studies. However, I feel that something is missing without my dear minister." The old chancellor said, "There are many talents in Zhao country. Your Majesty will definitely find a suitable person to take over the Directorate of Imperial Studies." The emperor sighed again. "Sigh, my dear minister, I'm afraid you haven't heard about the Directorate of Imperial Studies." The old chancellor was stunned. The Directorate of Imperial Studies. Did something happen again? The emperor told him about Zhang Sai's messy accounts. Not only did he embezzle and take bribes, but he also changed the results of the Imperial Studies supervisor without permission. How can I let such a person take over the Directorate of Imperial Studies? I really want to kick him out of the Directorate of Imperial Studies. The old chancellor hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, please calm down. Everyone makes mistakes. Zhang Sai took bribes a few years ago. Now that he has turned over a new leaf, why don't your Majesty give him another chance? As for changing the results of the Imperial Studies supervisor, I believe Zhang Sai won't be so muddle-headed. There might be some misunderstanding." What kind of joke was this? Without Zhang Sai's black and bad deeds, how could he, a white lotus, be white? The old chancellor said a few more good things about Zhang Sai. Finally, the emperor dispelled the idea of abolishing Zhang Sai. After that, the emperor talked to the old chancellor about inviting him back to the Directorate of Imperial Studies. The Directorate of Imperial Studies supervisor hasn't been opened for a long time. People's hearts are scattered. Imperial tutor Zhuang's first grandson, Prince N, has returned from Chen country. He entered the Directorate of Imperial Studies with first place. The emperor stopped here and looked at the old chancellor affectionately. "We are currently in need of people. I hope that my beloved minister can return to our side and help us stabilize the country of Zhao." The old chancellor did not immediately agree. His Majesty's gaze fell on the old chancellor's complicated expression and asked, "Beloved minister, Are you still upset about Aheng's matter? Does my beloved minister not want to return to the Directorate of Imperial Studies because that is where Aheng's accident happened? The old Chancellor was silent. His Majesty did not force him and stood up to leave. When he reached the door, he suddenly turned around. Aheng's spirit in heaven must also hope to see the Chancellor return. The old Chancellor's expression became even more sorrowful. His Majesty sighed and left. Confirming that the carriage was far away, the old Chancellor's expression changed in a second. Lu Quan, take out the drumstick. I'm starving. Gu Jiao did not sleep well last night. During the day, there was nothing to do in the medical clinic. She returned to her own small courtyard to rest. After sleeping for about 2 hours, she was woken up by a knock on the door. Miss Gu! Miss Gu! Come out for a moment. It was Xiao Sanzi's anxious and careful voice. Gu Jiao also had a morning temper. She impatiently pulled her small ears and went to open the door for Xiao Sanzi with a dark face. Xiao Sanzi was startled by her frightening aura. Miss Gu. What's the matter? Gu Jiao asked. Xiao Sanzi embarrassedly said, That person from last time came. Which person? Gu Jiao asked him with a dark face. Xiao Sanzi swallowed his saliva and thought to himself, Can you not have such a dark face? I feel like my life is in danger at any moment. Xiao Sanzi boldly said, It's that Lu Yixing. He came to get medicine again. Second boss is not here, so shopkeeper Wang does not dare to get medicine for him. He is thinking of a way to send him away. Gu Jiao remembered. That patient with chronic cholecystitis was quite handsome and was hard to forget. Gu Jiao nodded. Okay, bring him to my consultation room. Xiao Sanzi giggled. All right. He was a warm-hearted person. Gu Jiao was thirsty, so she went back to her room to drink a few mouthfuls of water before going to the consultation room. The first time Gu Jiao asked him to enter the consultation room, he had rejected her. This time, he agreed without hesitation. He was still wearing the same clothes as last time, but there was an extra patch on the sleeve of his inner shirt. His face was no longer sallow, but more rosy. He looked more handsome than before. When he saw Gu Jiao walk in, he stood up and greeted her, Miss Gu. Have a seat. Gu Jiao sat down opposite him. He also sat down. Gu Jiao observed his complexion. How do you feel? Lu Yixing touched his right upper abdomen and said, I feel much better. It doesn't hurt so much here. The first day he took the medicine back, he did not have much hope. It sounded very contradictory. He knew that no doctor in the capital would treat him with the right medicine, but he always hoped for a miracle. Perhaps he was disappointed too many times, so every time before decocting the medicine, he told himself that the medicine would not be effective this time, as if he would not be disappointed. The first night he took the medicine, he did not feel much better. The next night, he had a better appetite. On the third night, he almost did not feel any pain and had a good night's sleep. After that, he got better day by day. Today, he only felt a faint pain occasionally. Gu Jiao expected that his treatment would be effective. Gu Jiao pointed to the pulse pillow on the table. Put your hand on it. Lu Yixing was still not used to a female doctor feeling his pulse. He hesitated for a moment before slowly putting his hand on it. Gu Jiao's cold fingertips touched his pulse. Seeing no evil, Lu Yixing lowered his eyes. His pulse was still stable, except that it was beating a little fast. Gu Jiao withdrew her hand and used her fingers to open his eyelids to take a look. This action caused her body to lean towards him. The girl's breath was pervasive, like the fragrant grass after the rain, clean and fresh. Lu Yixing's eyelashes trembled. Gu Jiao let go of him and said with satisfaction, Not bad. Continue to take the medicine. I'll give you another one to protect your liver. Lu Yixing opened his mouth. Gu Jiao promptly said, No extra money. Oh. Lu Yixing breathed a sigh of relief. Last time, the medicine cost 100 copper coins. He only brought 100 copper coins today. Gu Jiao wrote a prescription. She wrote the prescription with a charcoal pencil. Her handwriting was not bad, but the way she held the pencil made Lu Yisheng curious. Was there anyone who held a pencil like that? This time, it's for 7 days, Gu Jiao said. Lu Yisheng said, but I only brought enough money for 5 sets of medicine. Gu Jiao did not raise her head and said, then you can owe me first. I'll pay you next time. Lu Yisheng suddenly sneered, aren't you afraid that I won't come if I have the prescription? Gu Jiao said, other than the miracle pharmacy, who else in the capital would dare to give you the right medicine? Lu Yisheng laughed again. This time, it was a self-deprecating laugh. He looked at Gu Jiao, but miss, are you really not afraid of getting into trouble? Gu Jiao handed him the prescription she had written. This is my problem. You're the patient, so you don't need to worry. Lu Yisheng took the prescription. The handwriting was not very beautiful, but it was vigorous and powerful. He held the prescription tightly and said coldly, if you really get into trouble because of treating my illness, I won't do anything. Gu Jiao said, okay. Lu Yisheng was very surprised by this answer. He looked at Gu Jiao. Although this was not the first time he saw her, this was the first time he really looked at her. She looked like she was only 14 or 15 years old. She had a calm temperament that did not match her age. She had an eye-catching red birthmark on the left side of her face. If a normal girl looked like her, she would probably hide at home and not dare to go out. However, she was not timid at all. Her body had a very unique aura. Do you have any other questions? Gu Jiao looked at him. Lu Yisheng looked away and said, no, I just hope you don't regret it. If you think that I'm from the Lu family and want to bet on me, then I advise you to give up. The Lu family will never be able to make a comeback, so don't help me in my hour of need. It won't bear fruit. Gu Jiao said, okay. He had said everything he needed to say. If she did not believe him, there was nothing he could do. Lu Yisheng turned around and left. The moment he was about to cross the threshold, Gu Jiao said casually, do you want to make a bet? Digression. QD's Circle of Readers has a book review activity. If you leave a comment, you will be given a fan title. Everyone can participate enthusiastically. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_826/113951998. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhhbqg.com. Chapter 192. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Lu Yisheng, what are we betting? Gu Jiao, we're betting that one day, I'll call you Lu Xiang. Lu Xiang? Am I that kind of person? Lu Yisheng laughed to himself. He lived like a dog and was trampled on by others. It was lucky that he didn't die. His smile disappeared. Also, Zhao country doesn't have a prime minister. Gu Jiao looked at him with her chin in her hands. It was fine if he didn't believe it. Not long after Lu Yisheng got the medicine and left, Madame Yao also came to the clinic. Yesterday, in order to interrogate Marquis Gu better, old Madame Gu sent her away. She only heard about Gu Chunlin when she went to greet old Madame Gu in the morning. Concubine Ling loved this youngest son the most. Who would have thought that she would stab Gu Chunlin in the heart? When old Madame Gu heard the news, she fainted. Madame Yao was naturally very surprised, but not too surprised. Concubine Ling had never really treated Gu Chongqing and his brothers as her own sons. Otherwise, she wouldn't have used Gu Chunlin to deal with her. However, Concubine Ling was crazy to this extent, which made Madame Yao sigh. I heard that old Madame Ling fed her a bowl of infertility medicine before she married into the family, and the night she married into the family, she was fed another bowl of infertility medicine by old Madame Gu. Her heart is full of hatred. On the carriage, Nanny Fong told Madame Yao the news she heard. Madame Yao didn't know if the news was true or not, but Concubine Ling had been in the residence for many years and had never been pregnant. Madame Yao didn't come to the clinic to see Gu Chunlin, but to see Gu Jiao. When she heard that Gu Chunlin had an accident in the middle of the night, Gu Chongqing carried him out to find a doctor and didn't come back until dawn. Gu Jiao's clinic at Miracle Hand Hall, so she knew who the doctor who worked hard to save Gu Chunlin last night was. Madame Yao made chicken soup for Gu Jiao. She had already removed the layer of oil on top. The soup was thick but not greasy, salty, fragrant, and smooth. Gu Jiao drank a few mouthfuls in her room in the courtyard. It tasted pretty good. "Madam, drink as well," she said to Yao Shi. "I've already drunk it." Yao Shi placed the bowl that Gu Jiao had given her in front of her and placed it in front of Gu Jiao. Dotingly she said, "You can drink." Gu Jiao had been busy for half the night. In the morning, she was so sleepy that she fell asleep immediately. After that, she treated Lu Yixing. Only now did she realize that she had not eaten much. He was quite hungry. Yao Shi saw that she was enjoying the food and felt both gratified and distressed. Yao Shi did not ask why Gu Jiao saved Gu Chunlin. Yao Shi believed that her daughter had her own considerations for everything she did. She also had her own unshakable position. She would not advise her daughter to do anything to Gu Chunlin, but she would not stop her daughter from making any decisions. Besides, she did owe Gu Chongqing. Whether it was for her or for the sake of a doctor, there was nothing wrong with her daughter's actions. Gu Jiao finished the chicken soup and ate the chicken. Her little stomach was full. Yao Shi was afraid that she would get tired and peeled another grapefruit for her. The grapefruit was sweet and sour. It was perfect for relieving grease. Gu Jiao ate very comfortably. Yao Shi saw the tiredness between her brows and said with heartache, "Go sleep for a while." Gu Jiao gave a small yawn. She really wanted to sleep after eating. However, she could not sleep for now. She had to go see how Gu Chunlin was doing. Gu Chunlin was placed in a room in the back of the house. It was right next to the emergency room. It was also quite close to Gu Jiao's courtyard. Gu Chunlin quietly lay on the bed. Marquis Gu went to the Ministry of Works. Gu Chongqing went back to his room to ask Concubine Ling and tidy up Gu Qinglin's clothes. Gu Chengfeng stayed here to take care of him. But at this time, Gu Chengfeng was not there. After asking Dr. Song, she learned that Gu Chunlin just woke up and Gu Chengfeng went to buy him food. "How is his body temperature?" Gu Jiao asked. Dr. Song said, "Just measured, it's normal." Under Gu Jiao's careful guidance, Dr. Song has become proficient in using a thermometer, blood pressure gauge, and stethoscope. Gu Jiao nodded her head and said, "When did he wake up? How long has he been awake? How is his consciousness?" Dr. Song carefully recalled, "He woke up half an hour ago. When he woke up, he didn't speak. When I asked him, he didn't answer. He was in a daze." Second young Master Gu said that he would buy him food, but as soon as he left, he closed his eyes and fell asleep again. There was no problem with the operation itself. The blood donor was a close relative, and the recipient had a certain probability of rejection. But Gu Jiao used a disposable white filter. The white blood cells that could easily cause rejection were successfully filtered out, so it was not a problem with the blood transfusion. So, Gu Qinglin's strangeness should be a psychological blow. Concubine Ling's knife not only stabbed his heart, but also his soul and his beliefs. All of his beliefs seemed to have collapsed overnight. He began to be unsure whether this world was real or not. "That's right, Miss Gu." Dr. Song was used to this name and did not change it. Gu Jiao also liked this name more. Just now, shopkeeper Wong came. He asked me to ask you, the medical fee. Now they already knew that Gu Chengfeng was Gu Jiao's half-brother. They were on the same side, so, Gu Jiao said bluntly, just charge what it should be. The operation fee is 10 taels, the medical fee is 10 taels, the examination fee is 10 taels. In addition, he is in intensive care, 3 taels a day. Dr. Song broke out in a cold sweat. Was it so expensive? Not long after, Gu Chengfeng came back in a hurry. He carried a big box of food. Third brother, I bought your favorite crispy duck and red bean cake. Dr. Song looked at Gu Chenglin on the bed in embarrassment, and then looked at Gu Jiao. Injured like this, you can't eat such greasy things, right? Gu Jiao did not stop him. Soon, Dr. Song understood why Gu Jiao did not say anything to stop him. Gu Chenglin did not eat anything at all. He did not even drink water. After he woke up, he only opened his eyes and stared blankly at the beam. He did not respond. He did not respond when the spoon was put to his mouth. It was not easy to open his mouth and feed him, but all of it flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Gu Chengfeng anxiously looked back at Gu Jiao and Dr. Song. You think of a way. Gu Jiao looked at him lightly. I can't do anything about this. Gu Chengfeng gritted his teeth. Although he was unwilling, he understood that Gu Jiao was right. Gu Chenglin did not have the will to live. Even if his injury was cured, his heart was dead. This kind of blow was even more unexpected than concubine Ling's betrayal. Gu Chengfeng would never have thought that this domineering, arrogant, and heartless younger brother of his would one day become like this. The people from Pine Crane Courtyard also arrived. They were old Madame Gu's confidant nanny and 2 clever maids. The confidant nanny was surnamed Gue. Seeing her master like this, she burst into tears. Damn it! Old Madame Gu doted on her for a long time, but look at what she did. Gu Chengfeng did not speak. He could not say anything. Nanny Gue said to Gu Chengfeng, second young master also did not sleep for a night. Go back to the mansion. I will take care of third young master here. Gu Chengfeng endured and said, I won't go. I want to wait for third brother to wake up. Completely awake, not as if his soul was sucked out. Nanny Gue could not persuade him and said to him, then second young master should eat something. Gu Chengfeng did not have the appetite, but he still nodded. Nanny Gue opened the food box. Inside were 2 bowls of millet porridge, a bowl of pork blood and tofu soup, a plate of radish stewed with crucian carp, a basket of steamed pork ribs, and a few stir-fried side dishes. When Gu Chengfeng saw the pork blood and pork ribs in the bowl, an image suddenly appeared in his mind. Gu Chenglin's blood was splattered, his flesh was opened, cleaned, and stitched up. Every detail was impossible to forget. Take it away. He could not eat it. Nanny Gue was confused. What's wrong, second young master? Are these dishes not well made? They are all very nutritious. Third young master lost too much blood, so I specially asked someone to buy fresh pork blood. It was freshly slaughtered, so it was still warm. It would have been better if she did not say anything. Once she said it, Gu Chengfeng could not take it anymore. In the end, he could only force himself to drink a bowl of millet porridge and could not eat anymore. On the other side, Gu Jinyu also heard about Gu Chenglin's injury. The girls' school was just next door, so she went straight to the medical center after school. Gu Chengfeng was in the backyard taking a breather. When he saw her, he frowned. What are you doing here? Gu Jinyu said softly, I heard that third brother was injured, so I came to see him. How is third brother? Is he out of danger? Gu Chengfeng and Gu Jinyu minded their own business. He did not really like her, but he did not hate her either. Today, unfortunately, he was in a very bad mood, and Gu Jinyu had bumped into him. What does it have to do with you? He said angrily. Gu Jinyu choked. Second brother was usually not so fierce. Gu Jinyu said gently, Second brother, I don't mean anything else. I'm just worried about third brother. Gu Chengfeng said sarcastically, Worried about him? I think you're just secretly happy in your heart. Don't think I don't know that all four of you, mother and children, wish for him to die. Gu Jinyu felt wronged. I didn't. Gu Chengfeng could not be bothered with her. He turned and went back into the house, closing the door and not allowing her to take even half a step in. Gu Jinyu was unjustly implicated. Yao Shi, Gu Jiao and Gu Yan did not like Gu Chenglin, but she sincerely hoped that Gu Chenglin would get better. Gu Jinyu bit her lip and was about to leave unhappily when she accidentally saw Gu Chongqing carrying a basket of herbs out of the storeroom. Eldest brother? She was about to go up and greet him when she saw Gu Jiao also coming out of the storeroom, carrying another basket of herbs. Leave it there. I'll move it. After Gu Chongqing placed the herbs on the shelf, he turned to take the basket in Gu Jiao's arms. How many more baskets are there? 5 baskets, Gu Jiao said. Gu Chongqing went to the storeroom and took out all 5 baskets of herbs. Then, the two of them started to sun the herbs together. Gu Chongqing still looked unsmiling. Perhaps even he himself did not realize that his brows were no longer as sharp as before. When he interacted with Gu Jiao, they even looked like siblings. When Gu Jiao walked under the shelf, Gu Chongqing would even put his hand under the shelf to prevent Gu Jiao from hitting her head. Gu Jinyu's heart was suddenly filled with mixed feelings. Why was it that she had put in so much effort, but eldest brother refused to even say a word to her? And this wild girl from the countryside had gained eldest brother's favor just because she was a medicine boy in this clinic? Third brother was not treated by her. She was just a medicine boy. Gu Jinyu gripped her handkerchief tightly. Just as she was about to leave, she saw Yao Shi walk out of the courtyard. Gu Jinyu was slightly startled. Was mother also here? She glanced at Gu Jiao and Gu Chongqing, who were not far away. Her heart suddenly filled with joy. Mother hated it when they interacted with eldest brother, second brother, and third brother. If mother found out, she would see what she would do. Jiao Jiao, are you drying the herbs again? Yao Shi walked over. Go rest. I'll do it. It's almost done, Gu Jiao said. Gu Chongqing and Yao Shi looked at each other. Gu Chongqing bowed slightly. Yao Shi nodded. She did not say anything else. She was very polite and distant. This was not the reaction Gu Jinyu had imagined. Shouldn't mother pull Gu Jiao away and scold Gu Jiao, telling her not to get involved with her 3 brothers? Why could she not talk to eldest brother, but Gu Jiao could? Yao Shi did not stay long before going in. Gu Chongqing said to Gu Jiao, "Wait for me." He went to the stable and took out a small box from the bundle hanging on the saddle. He handed it to Gu Jiao. Here. What is this? Gu Jiao asked. Open it and take a look, Gu Chongqing said. Gu Jiao made an "oh" sound and opened the small box. She found 4 little figures inside. A little jade figure, a little golden figure, a little wooden figure, and a little iron figure. She did not need to guess to know that the little jade figure was for Gu Yan, the little golden figure was for little Jing Kong, and the little wooden figure was for Gu Xiaoshan. But why did it become an iron figure for her? Gu Jiao. This was a handicraft from the Liang Kingdom. It could not be bought on the market. It was not because Gu Jiao had cured Gu Chenglin that he wanted to give it to her. Long ago, after winning the leaf card game, Gu Chongqing had found this handicraft and planned to bring it to buy Shui Tong next time. Gu Chongqing explained, "There is also a leaf card game under the box." Gu Jiao, so you only did it for the game? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/896428266/1139491137. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, M. ZHHBQG. Come. Chapter 193. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. Gu Jinyu saw that her elder brother had given Gu Jiao something and felt even more upset. She had given her brother so many gifts, but all she got in return was a word of thanks from him. Don't think that she didn't know that her birthday gift every year was prepared by concubine Ling. Her brother didn't even know what he gave her. Although she could not see what was in the box from her angle, how could something that her elder brother had personally chosen be bad? Gu Jinyu did not care about what was in the box. She cared about her elder brother's intentions. She was a girl who grew up in the countryside. She had neither looks nor talent. She even hit people at the slightest provocation. What did her elder brother see in her? Gu Jinyu did not go to meet with Yao Shi. She returned to the Marquis Fu alone, depressed. On the other side, the battle between the Ministry of Works and the Ministry of War finally came to an end. The Ministry of War had won, and the Minister of Works had been scolded badly by the Emperor. The Minister of Works was furious. When he returned to the Yamen, he called Marquis Gu over and questioned him on how he had handled the matter in the past. The Ministry of War said that they had looked for you many times. You used the excuse that you did not believe them? Marquis Gu refuted, there were not many times. At first, he did not explain clearly and only wanted me to rush out such a large batch of weapons within a month. At that time, it was almost the end of the year. The Ministry of Works had many things to do. I really could not rush it. The previous dynasty's weapons manufacturing was not under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Works. After the start of the current dynasty, the responsibilities of the 6 ministries were redistributed. The Ministry of Works had changed the most. The Ministry of Works suddenly had many things to do. However, their salaries did not increase and their status did not increase. They could be said to be the leader of the 6 ministries. Minister Zhao knew that Marquis Gu was not lying. The Ministry of Works was in charge of the entire Zhao country's fields, irrigation, civil works, transportation, government-run industries, including but not limited to weapons manufacturing. Once the end of the year came, they would be so busy that they would have to split into 3 or 4 people. But what was he angry about? Marquis Gu did not investigate and insisted that the commoners could not have better wind-blowing technology than the imperial court. In the end, the commoners had it and the Ministry of War had brought it back. Now, the entire Ministry of Works had to go to the Ministry of War to learn how to blow air. Was this something a human would do? Would he still have any face left? On the way back from the imperial court, he was almost laughed to death by his colleagues. I don't even know if I should call you stupid or arrogant. Minister Zhao was fuming with rage. Marquis Gu pursed his lips and said, if you were here, would you believe it? Minister Zhao choked. Marquis Gu had an expression of, I knew it. See, who dares to believe it? I. Why wouldn't I believe it? Who didn't know how to give advice after the fact? Minister Zhao said seriously, you didn't tell me at that time. If you did, I would have sent someone to the county to invite him over. Marquis Gu looked up at the sky. Go on, go on. Zhao Shongshu. The old Marquis had lived a valiant life. How could he give birth to such a naive son? But then again, he really didn't dare to believe it. When the Minister of War had told him about the civil wind-blowing technique, he had scoffed. That old man, the Minister of War, was also very bad. The piston bellows were clearly on the way, but he just didn't tell him. He had thought that the Ministry of War was bragging about it, so he didn't hesitate to ridicule him and say many harsh words. Now, every word was slapping his own face. Minister Zhao asked, I heard that it was invented by a 14 or 15-year-old girl. Weren't you in the county at that time? Have you heard of such a girl? There were many girls in the county, and he had one at home. Unfortunately, she was born to be his nemesis. What's wrong? Do you know her? Minister Zhao saw that Marquis Gu's expression had suddenly become serious and asked. Marquis Gu waved his hand and said, "There are many 14-year-old girls. It can't be that girl randomly." Minister Zhao nodded. "That's true. But I heard from the people in the smithy that she is a little farmer's girl. Our Ministry of Works suffered a great loss this time. If we can find her, we will definitely be able to regain our face in front of His Majesty." A little farmer's girl in the county? It can't really be that girl, right? Marquis Gu quickly shook his head decisively. That girl was illiterate. It was more likely that she knew how to feed pigs and farm. She invented the piston bellows that could crush the Liang Kingdom's water pipes? How was that possible? Marquis Gu said, "Sir, in my opinion, that girl must be a disciple or family member of some otherworldly expert. She didn't want to enter the world, so she didn't reveal her identity." Minister Zhao thought for a while and said thoughtfully, "Ah, right. I heard from the people in the smithy that her surname seems to be Lu, or Gu." The sky gradually darkened. Gu Jiao finished a day of treatment and finally went to check on Gu Qinglin's condition. Gu Chengfeng had something to ask her. Now, as long as there was meat on the table, he would think of the scene of Gu Qinglin's surgery. Those scenes were simply too shocking. If this went on, he was afraid that he would become a monk. He wanted to know if there was any medicine for this illness. However, Gu Jiao didn't give him a chance to speak and turned to leave. "Hey, you're leaving just like that?" Gu Chengfeng asked unhappily. Gu Jiao looked at him indifferently. Gu Chengfeng straightened his face and said, "What if my brother is in danger?" "There's Dr. Song," Gu Jiao said. Gu Chengfeng wanted to say something but hesitated. This Dr. Song was obviously a novice. When he was injured when the brothel collapsed, Dr. Song was the one who stitched him up. The stitches were crooked and ugly. And it hurt for a long time. "If you're not satisfied, you can go to another clinic," Gu Jiao said casually. She walked to the door and handed over the case to Dr. Song. She looked at Dr. Song encouragingly. "This kind of serious injury to the heart is very rare. You have to cherish this opportunity to practice." Dr. Song was full of ambition. "I will." Gu Qingfeng's face was full of black lines. "Is it really good for your clinic to cheat people like this?" "Ah, right, the bill." Gu Jiao threw a bill into Gu Qingfeng's arms. Gu Chengfeng took it and looked. "Why is it 1,000 taels again? Didn't you say that third brother's medical expenses were only a few dozen taels?" Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. "This is not his, it's yours." Gu Chengfeng glared. "What did I do?" Gu Jiao spread her hands. "I also gave you a needle." Gu Chengfeng flew into a rage. "Then it's 1,000 taels. And you were sneak attacking me, okay? Sneak attacking me and you still want to extort me?" Gu Jiao smiled evilly. Her eyes swept over Gu Chenglin. "If you don't pay, you can do as you see fit." Gu Chengfeng. Yao Shi and Gu Chongqing had already left. Nurse Gui, who always liked to wipe her tears, was also driven away by Gu Chengfeng. Only a servant who didn't speak much was left. At night, Gu Chengfeng and the servant took care of Gu Chenglin. Gu Jiao carried the small basket back home. Xiao Lulang and the other three all came back from the Imperial College and Qinghe Academy. The courtyard was noisy and full of the smell of home. Gu Jiao didn't sleep the whole night. Xiao Lulang didn't want her to come back and cook, so he went to cook dinner himself. As a result, he was unanimously opposed by the whole family. It was enough to be tortured by him for one day. If he came again, they really wouldn't be able to see the sun tomorrow. Fortunately, the old chancellor was at home today. Old Madam raised the kitchen knife and chased him over. Gu Jiao first put the small basket back in the east room and then went to the backyard. Jiao 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 Jiao. Little Jing Kong ran over and raised his little head to look at Gu Jiao cutely. "One day apart feels like 3 years, Jiao Jiao. We haven't seen each other for 3 years. I miss you so much." The corner of Gu Jiao's mouth twitched. Where did he learn to say such vulgar words of love? Jiao Jiao, did you miss me? Little Jing Kong continued to act cutely. Yes. Gu Jiao patted his little bald head. Oh, he grew some more hair. Little Jing Kong pulled Gu Jiao's hand. Jiao Jiao, did you carry me over last night? Did you miss me so much that you broke? Gu Jiao glanced at Xiao Lu Lang, who was chopping firewood in the courtyard, and nodded to Little Jing Kong. Yes. Little Jing Kong proudly raised his little chin. I knew it. He thought of something and pulled Gu Jiao to a small basin. He pointed at the small fish in the basin and said, Jiao Jiao, look, my good friend gave it to me. You have a good friend? Gu Jiao was surprised. Little Jing Kong was not a very sociable child. She had never heard of him having any friends. She's from the class next door. Her name is Su Konji. Konji as in kanji. Little Jing Kong said. Gu Jiao was a little surprised that he actually made friends with someone from the class next door. She and Xiao Lu Lang had always been worried that Little Jing Kong was too precocious and would not be able to play with his peers. Moreover, there was a gap between him and the adults. In the long run, it was inevitable that he would be isolated. Little Jing Kong showed off his small fish. Is it beautiful? Gu Jiao went against her conscience and said, Yes, it's quite beautiful. What kind of fish is it? She had never seen such an ugly fish. Little Jing Kong said seriously. Little Su said that they are piranhas. Gu Jiao's little body trembled. What kind of children were they? Why were they so cruel? I thought that you could be like a normal child and make friends with a normal child. I was really naive. Little Jing Kong's sense of beauty was not the same as that of normal people. His sense of beauty was influenced by his master. Then, he also influenced the few little monks in the temple. For example, the red birthmark that most people could not accept happened to be on Little Jing Kong and the few little monks' sense of beauty. These few fish were the same. Not only did they look obedient, but their eyes were also fierce. However, there was a piece of golden fish scale on top of their heads that shone under the sun. Little Jing Kong was fascinated by them. Little Jing Kong took the initiative to talk to a child in the Imperial College for the first time because of these few beautiful fish. Of course, they were not piranhas. It was just a child's boast. They were just ordinary freshwater fish. However, they were not a species from Zhao country. They were transported from Liang country, which was far away. They were very precious. Of course, Little Su did not say these things because he did not understand. Jiao Jiao, can I raise them? Little Jing Kong asked Gu Jiao. He was a sensible and polite child. Before raising pets, he would ask for Jiao Jiao's permission first. Gu Jiao nodded. Yes, but you have to feed them and change their water by yourself. Also, we don't have any experience in raising fish, so we can't help you in this aspect. Okay. Little Jing Kong nodded obediently. Jiao Jiao, don't worry. I will ask Little Su for more advice. I will definitely raise them until they are fat. Then, when I grow up, I can eat them. Gu Jiao. So, you raise fish to eat them? The little birds that were jumping around in the yard suddenly stopped making any noise. At night, Gu Yen, who worked for Little Jing Kong, went to the chicken coop to feed the 7 chickens. However, he found that they were all on a hunger strike. Gu Yen. There were 6 dishes and 1 soup for dinner. The children in the family were all at the age of growing up. The old chancellor prepared enough portions for Little Jing Kong. He had a big appetite, but he did not grow taller. It was also worrying. The old chancellor's cooking successfully wiped away the shadow brought by Xiao Liulong's breakfast. The whole family was full. After dinner, the old madam asked about the situation of the day as usual. Gu Jiao and Xiao Lu Lang did not mention anything about Gu Qinglin's visit. The two of them did not think that Gu Qinglin was worthy of their family discussion time at the dinner table. Except for Little Jing Kong making a new friend in the Imperial College, nothing new happened to the rest of the family. However, Xiao Lu Lang, who was always silent at the family meeting, spoke for the first time. There is a carpenter master near the Imperial College who wants to take in apprentices. Tomorrow, the Imperial College and Qinghe Academy will have a weekend break. I will take Xiaoshun there. Gu Xiaoshun was obsessed with wood carving. If he could find a reliable master to learn the craftsmanship, it would be a good path. Then, I don't need to study anymore? Gu Xiaoshun asked excitedly. Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang said in unison, "Don't even think about it." Gu Xiaoshun, children from ordinary families did not need to study after they had a craft. However, Xiao Lulang and Gu Jiao were both people who attached great importance to education. Their children could study after school, but they could not drop out of school to learn a craft. Gu Yan, come with us, Xiao Lulang said. Why do I have to go? Gu Yan was confused. Xiao Lulang, you have nothing better to do. Gu Yan. From now on, Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshun would have to start a hard life of going to school during the day and learning craft at night. Little Jing Kong shook his head proudly. I don't need to learn craft. I can play. Ha ha ha. Xiao Lulang looked at him ruthlessly. From tomorrow onwards, you will have one more foreign language class. Little Jing Kong's face instantly darkened. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet can be found here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/11392128. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 194. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more interesting content. More novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. You can find all the novels that you can't find online. But aren't you going to take the Imperial examination in spring? Where do you have so much time to teach me? Don't you want to take the exam properly? Little Jing Kong wasn't easy to compromise. His words touched Gu Jiao's heart. Now the most important thing in the family was the Imperial examination in spring next month. Whether she could become the tribute scholar's wife or not depended on Xiao Liulong's performance. Xiao Lulang, I knew you would say that. Xiao Lulang said seriously, it's not me who will teach you. It's Granduncle who will teach you. Granduncle knows how to do it too. Little Jing Kong slumped on the chair soullessly. The next day, Xiao Lulang led Gu Xiaoshun and Gu Yan to become apprentices to a master. The apprenticeship process went smoothly. The master didn't ask for expensive gifts and accepted the two disciples politely. The master's surname was Lu. He was a man with a square face. His real age was almost 50, but he looked less than 40. Gu Xiaoshun scratched his head and asked Gu Yan in a low voice, Gu Yan, have you heard of the master's name before? Gu Yan shook his head. No, I've only heard of Lu Yuan. Who is Lu Yuan? Gu Xiaoshun asked. He was a bumpkin and didn't know anything about the capital. Gu Yan explained patiently. A master. He's amazing. Although our master's surname is Lu, he has nothing to do with that master. Master Lu was the most famous craftsman in the Zhao kingdom. Even the emperor's dragon throne and dragon bed were made by him. It could be seen how important his position was in the Zhao kingdom. There were rumors that the swallow carved by Master Lu could fly, the fish carved by Master Lu could swim, and there were even rumors that Master Lu once carved a beauty. That beauty came to life and became Master Lu's wife. There were so many rumors about Master Lu that it would take more than 3 days and 3 nights to tell them all. However, this Master Lu was temperamental and eccentric. Once, he offended His Majesty and was almost sentenced to death. After that, Master Lu went into seclusion and no longer accepted any business from the imperial court. There were also people who said that Master Lu had changed his name and continued working as a carpenter in another place. Nowadays, Many people on the market boasted that they were selling Master Lu's works. As the two of them were talking in the courtyard, a woman wearing a cotton dress came out with a basket of salted vegetables. Just by looking at her figure, this woman could be said to be graceful, but when they looked at her face, both of them were a little startled. It was a face that had been disfigured. Unlike the smooth birthmark on Gu Jiao's face, this face was covered with criss-crossed scars. It was hideous and frightening. A timid person would have been scared away on the spot. The two of them, however, did not move. They stared at each other for a long time without losing their composure. Gu Jiao was often looked down upon because of her disfigured face. Gu Yan and Gu Shaoshun would not treat others like this. "Who are you?" Gu Yan asked. His eyes were clear, without a trace of fear or disdain. The woman smiled. Ordinary people would feel warm when they smiled, but she was different. When she smiled, all the scars on her face moved, making her look even more hideous and frightening. She said, "You're his new disciples, right? I'm your master's wife." So she was their master's wife. Seeing that she didn't seem to be lying, the two of them cupped their hands and bowed to her. Master's wife. The woman didn't say yes or no. She only smiled faintly. She put the basket of salted vegetables on the shelf to dry, then turned around and went into the room. Gu Yan was even more certain that this craftsman surnamed Lu was not Master Lu. Master Lu's wife was a great beauty. Anyone who saw her would be captivated by her beauty. His aunt, Consort Shu, was already considered a peerless beauty in the 6 palaces, but it was said that compared to Master Lu's wife, she would still be overshadowed. Gu Yan and Gu Shaoshun waited in the courtyard for a while before Xiao Lulang and Master Lu came out. "I'll leave the 2 children to you." Xiao Lulang cupped his hands and said to Master Lu. Master Lu also slightly returned the greeting. "Young Master Xiao is too polite. I'll be going out with my wife for the next 2 days. I'll have them come back to class in 3 days." "Okay." Xiao Lulang agreed. He let Gu Shaoshun and Gu Yan say goodbye to Master Lu before leaving in the carriage. After the 3 of them left, Master Lu was about to return to his room when he saw his wife, Nan Xiang, come out of the room. "It's windy. Why did you come out?" Master Lu walked forward and held his wife's arm with concern. Nan Xiang looked at the carriage that was gradually disappearing at the end of the alley and asked him, "Why did you suddenly agree to accept disciples? Don't you hate being a master the most?" "Alas!" Master Lu sighed. "That youth called Xiao Lulang is Elder Feng's disciple. I owed Elder Feng a favor in the past. This time, I'm returning it to Elder Feng." Elder Feng accepted a disciple. Nan Xiang curled her lips. That old fogey doesn't even like great scholar Zhuang. How could he take a liking to a crippled child? The great scholar Zhuang she spoke of was the 4th master of the Zhuang family, Zhuang Xianji. A while ago, he was appointed as the provincial governor of Yuzhou and was one of the top scholars in the Zhao country. Zhuang Xianji had always respected Elder Feng and hoped to inherit his mantle. Unfortunately, for some unknown reason, Elder Feng didn't accept him as a disciple. "I think that boy is not bad." Master Lu said, "He doesn't seem like an ordinary country boy. How could someone that Elder Feng took a liking to be a simple person?" Nan Xiang smiled faintly and changed the topic from Xiao Lulang. "Isn't the price too high for a favor and 2 more disciples?" Master Lu said, "Not at all. If it weren't for Elder Feng's help, I'm afraid I wouldn't have met you in my life. Elder Feng is our matchmaker. I have to repay this favor no matter what." Nan Xiang was amused. In front of outsiders, she was worried that she would look too scary when she smiled, but in front of her husband, she didn't have this concern. After she had laughed enough, she pulled her husband's hand and said, "I like those 2 children. They are much better than those who came before." Gu Shaoshun and Gu Yan weren't the first 2 who came to ask to be apprenticed to a master. There were countless people who came before them. There was no lack of talented people among them, but Nan Xiang didn't like any of them. As long as she appeared, those people would act as if they had seen a ghost. Some people were even scared to the point of peeing on the spot. It's good that Xiong likes them. He didn't look at aptitude when accepting disciples. It was all based on his wife's liking. Even if they were stupid, he would accept them. Needless to say, that pretty boy named Gu Yen seemed to be quite stupid. Teach them well. Nan Xiang said, don't fool them. Master Lu cleared his throat. I know, madam. Although he agreed readily, he actually had a plan in mind. Carpentry was hard, tiring, and boring. Most people wouldn't be able to persevere for more than a few days. At most, 3 months. He was sure that those 2 children would come to him and beg him to stop learning. Xiao Lulang and the other 2 returned to buy Shui Alley. From afar, they could hear the commotion in the courtyard. It turned out that Feng Lin and Lin Chengye had come. Together with the 2 of them was a familiar face that they had met in Ping City, Du Ruhan. Ever since Du Ruhan returned to the capital, he had been locked up at home to study by his uncle. He hadn't even been let out for the new year. It was only when his aunt pleaded with his uncle that Zhuang Xianji allowed him a day off. Du Ruhan had long heard that Feng Lin and Xiao Lulang were studying at the Imperial College. He wasn't familiar with Lin Qingye and didn't deliberately ask about him. It was only when he went to the Imperial College to look for Feng Lin that he bumped into him. According to Du Ruhan's intention, since the 2 of them had finally come to the capital, he would treat them to a hearty meal at the most famous restaurant in the capital, Drunken Immortal Restaurant. At night, they would rent a pleasure boat and go for a lake tour. It was simply too carefree. However, Feng Lin and Lin Chengye were thinking about Xiao Lulang and Zhao Nyang. They missed Zhao Nyang so much that they had to come and see her. Hence, Du Ruhan was dragged over by the 2 of them. Xiao Lulang didn't have any feelings towards Du Ruhan, but Gu Yen and Gu Xiaoshun were very curious about the guest in the house. Zhao Nyang's younger brother. Feng Lin introduced Gu Yen and Gu Xiaoshun to Du Ruhan, then introduced Du Ruhan to Gu Yen and Gu Xiaoshun. He's my childhood playmate with your brother-in-law. You can call him older brother Du, Xiao Lulang. You really don't think of yourself as an outsider. Gu Yen and Gu Xiaoshun greeted the guest. Gu Jiao went to buy groceries. Not long after the 3 of them returned, she also entered the courtyard. She immediately noticed that there was an additional guest in the courtyard. Obviously, the guest also noticed her. Xiao Lulang was about to introduce the guest when Feng Lin ran over excitedly and said, Zhao Nyang is back. What did you buy that's so heavy? I already said that you don't need to buy so many groceries. Little Cheng, hurry, hurry. Lin Chengye quickly came over and took the groceries in Gu Jiao's hands. Feng Lin said to Du Ruhan, this is Zhao Nyang. Then he said to Gu Jiao, Zhao Nyang, he's Liolong's and my neighbor when we were young. The 3 of us grew up together. His name is Du Ruhan. You can call him Little Belly. His aunt has married and moved to the capital. Now, he can be considered half a citizen of the capital. Next month, he'll be taking the imperial examination with us. Xiao Liolong's eyes were cold. You talk a lot more when you meet Zhao Jiao. Also, who is the male master of this family? Du Ruhan and Xiao Lulang were not as close to Feng Lin as they were to Xiao Lulang. Firstly, he had known Feng Lin for a longer time when they were young. Secondly, he always felt that this Xiao Lulang was not the Xiao Lulang from his childhood. In short, they were quite unfamiliar. However, Xiao Liolong's family members were quite easy to get along with. Especially Xiao Liolong's great-aunt. The story started when Du Ruhan came to visit. He was a rational person. Even though Feng Lin told him not to be too formal, he still bought some things and brought them over. Among them was a box of sugar-fried chestnuts. Old Madam liked it so much that she called Han Hanin over. Old Madam didn't keep the chestnuts at home anymore. It was easy for little Jing Kong to complain, so she kept them at the old Chancellor's place. Old Madam felt that this young man was very smart and decided to bring him along. Let's play? Old Madam took out the leaf tiles that Gu Chongqing gave her. The new leaf tiles were very comfortable to the touch. Old Madam loved them so much that she couldn't put them down. Du Ruhan knew about the leaf tiles. It was just that his uncle didn't allow him to play them at home. Feng Lin didn't know how to play them, but Lin Chengye did. Old Madam called Gu Xiaoshun over. Gu Xiaoshun, Old Madam, Du Ruhan, and Lin Chengye gathered a table of leaf tiles. Du Ruhan was a newbie. Reality proved that not every newbie was as lucky as Gu Chongqing. After a round of tiles, Du Ruhan lost so much that he only had his underwear left. Old Madam liked him even more. "Young man, you have a bright future." When it was close to lunch, someone came to the house again. "I'll open the door, I'll open the door." Little Jing Kong went to open the door. He stuck his little head out of the door and looked at the person who came. "Who are you looking for?" The man said, "I'm looking for Xiao Lulang." Oh. Little Jing Kong was disappointed. Why didn't he come to find him? He was no longer a child without friends. Little Jing Kong slowly went to the study to call Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang went to the door. He looked at the man with a goatee in front of him. The man had a kind and shrewd look. He was well dressed and had good manners. But Xiao Lulang didn't know him. "You are..." The man cupped his hands. "My surname is Wang. Young Master Xiao, you can call me Wang Yun. I've heard a lot about young Master Xiao. I'm here to visit you today. Can we talk inside?" Xiao Lulang looked at him again and brought him into his study. Little Jing Kong was also in his study, doing exercises. Xiao Lulang said to him, "Rest for a while. You can do it later." Little Jing Kong looked at him suspiciously. "Why are you so kind all of a sudden?" Xiao Lulang said, "Jiao Jiao made delicious food." Little Clear Sky disappeared with a whoosh. Wang Yun laughed. "Is he young Master Zhao's younger brother? He's so cute." Was he cute? That was just a facade. He was actually a naughty little monk who made people go crazy. Xiao Lulang didn't want to ridicule the little monk in front of outsiders. He asked lightly, "I wonder why Master Wang is here?" Wang Yun didn't expect Xiao Lulang to be so direct. He was surprised and said with a smile, "I'm here today to discuss something important with young Master Xiao." Xiao Lulang asked, "About the imperial examination in spring?" Wang Yun was surprised again and said with a smile, "Young Master Xiao is really smart. You even guessed this." Recently, many people had come to see Xiao Lulang about the imperial examination in spring. However, most of them came to the Imperial College. Wang Yun was the only one who came to see him. Xiao Lulang said bluntly, "I don't have the energy to tutor others, nor do I have the energy to guess the questions and write articles." There were only two kinds of people who came looking for Xiao Lulang. One was like Lin Chengye and Feng Lin, who were down to earth, asking for advice. The other was to ask the teachers to place a bet on the topic and let Xiao Lulang write an article according to the topic and sell it to them. Xiao Lulang rejected them all. Wang Yun lowered his eyes and laughed. He flicked his wide sleeves and said, "I'm not here to ask young Master Xiao to tutor my young master, nor am I here to buy young Master Zhao's essay. I want to ask young Master Xiao to..." He said the last two words. The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/11391820. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 195. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more exciting content. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with inner content that can't be found on the internet are available here. Jiao Jiao. Jiao Jiao. Little Jing Kong ran into the kitchen with his short legs. Gu Jiao was cutting vegetables. She looked up at him and asked, "What's wrong?" Little Jing Kong grabbed his little bald head and asked in confusion, "What do you mean by taking the exam?" Gu Jiao stopped cutting vegetables. Little Jing Kong said, "I just heard the guest who came to our house talking to brother-in-law. He asked brother-in-law to take the exam. Does that mean taking the exam with them? Like taking brother Feng Lin and brother Lin Qingye?" Gu Jiao's eyes turned cold. She put the kitchen knife on the chopping board, took off her apron and walked out of the kitchen. In the study room, Xiao Lulang looked at Wang Yun indifferently. Wang Yun smiled and said, "Isn't it too abrupt for me to say that? Young Master Xiao might not be able to accept it in a short time, but you will understand after I analyze it with you. I know more or less about young Master Zhao's situation. You came from the county and became a live-in son-in-law of a farmer's family. With such a family background, you can enter the Imperial College as a top scorer. I believe that young Master Xiao has put in a lot of effort in private. I admire young Master Zhao's ability, and I also believe that young Master Xiao can become a tribute scholar." There was usually a "but" in his words. Sure enough, Wang Yun continued, "However, it won't be easy for young Master Xiao to become a grand scholar. The general examination will be conducted by the examiners. They will only look at the exam papers and not the candidates. After becoming a tribute scholar, His Majesty will hold the court examination personally. All the candidates will sit in front of His Majesty, and His Majesty will see their faces." He was talking about their faces, but his gaze fell on Xiao Liulong's legs. The meaning was obvious. How could His Majesty choose a cripple as the official jinshi? There were a total of 3 lists for grand scholars. The top 3 of the first list were the Zhuangyuan, 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 and the Tanhua, 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 and were bestowed with the title of grand scholar. The second list ranged from the 4th to a certain number. They were called the 2 lists, and were also part of the official grand scholar list. They were bestowed with the title of Grand Scholar. The rest were called the 3 lists. The emphasis on the word same already indicated that he was different from a grand scholar. Although the current dynasty relaxed the requirements for the imperial examinations compared to the previous dynasty, none of the grand scholars who passed the imperial examinations had a handicapped appearance or body. Wasn't that obvious enough? Wang Yun smiled faintly. "However, you won't be able to pass the imperial exam. Why don't you help my young master?" Xiao Lulang remained unmoved. Wang Yun continued to persuade him, "Besides, you're still young. You're only 18 this year. If you really want to take the exam, you can take it 3 years later. If you study for 3 more years, you'll be better at it. That way, you'll have a better chance of winning against His Highness, right?" It sounded like he was thinking for Xiao Lulang, but after careful analysis, every word was looking down on Xiao Lulang. Gu Jiao's gaze was extremely cold. Behind Gu Jiao, Feng Lin, Lin Yezu, and Du Ruhan also came over to listen. They had heard of people who took the exam, but this was the first time they had encountered one. This person surnamed Wang was too disgusting. He didn't even look like he was asking for help. He had to belittle him and make him back off. It was as if this was the only way he could show off his status and wisdom. Wang Yun continued, "Young Master Xiao will definitely be satisfied with the reward. Young Master Xiao can treat it as my young master using this money to buy 3 years of your time. In fact, young Master Xiao is the one who benefits. 3 more years of studying, 3 more years of learning, and a sum of money that can't be spent in a few lifetimes. Why not? More importantly, young Master Xiao can make friends with my young master. Even if he can't pass the imperial exam, my young master can still find a good official for young Master Xiao." What an arrogant tone. He even dared to say such things. What was his background? Feng Lin's face scrunched up. Although Du Ruhan wasn't close to Xiao Lulang, he was also angered by this shameless person. Xiao Lulang said indifferently, "You speak so confidently. How do I know if your young master is worth making friends with?" Wang Yun smiled arrogantly, "My young master's surname is He." Duke Luo's wife's surname is also He. Oh. When Wang Yun came out of the room, Gu Jiao and the others were no longer in the central room. Wang Yun cupped his hands at Xiao Lulang. Young Master Xiao, why don't you consider it carefully? I will come back to ask you for an answer in 3 days. Halfway through the game, half of the mahjong players had run away. The old lady was depressed. In the kitchen, Du Ruhan, Lin Chengye, and Gu Jiao had a small meeting with Feng Lin and Du Ruhan. The few of them sat on the small bench. Du Ruhan said, Duke Luo's residence is the only aristocratic family in the capital that can stand shoulder to shoulder with Marquis Shuamping's residence and the Zhuang family. There was also the Lu family in the past. If this candidate surnamed he is really from Duke Luo's family, then he really has the right to say such big words. With the power of the Duke Luo's residence, it was easy for Xiao Lulang to be a small official in the capital. In fact, it was faster than Xiao Lulang studying by himself. Why do I feel that Wang Yun looks a little familiar? Feng Lin rested his chin on his hand and was deep in thought. I think I've seen him somewhere before. Du Ruhan frowned. Now that you mention it, I think so too. He, Jinghong, Lin Chengye said. Du Ruhan had no impression of this name, but Feng Lin remembered it immediately. It's him. Who? Gu Jiao asked. The head of the Ping Cheng examination. Feng Lin said. This happened when Xiao Lulang was taking the county examination. Xiao Lulang was the head of the examination in both the county and capital examinations. However, he missed the chance to be the head of the examination in the 3rd round of the college examination because someone had swapped the 8-part essay paper. Feng Lin paid special attention to the head of the examination in that round. The name was He Jinghong. Of course, he did not see him in person. Lin Chengye was not in Ping Cheng during the child examinations. He only knew about He Jinghong because not long after, in June, He Jinghong also came to the province to take the examinations. He Jinghong stayed in the same inn as him, Xiao Lulang, and Feng Lin. I remember now. He stayed next door. Feng Lin said, At first, I didn't know that he was He Jinghong. I accidentally heard someone calling him. The one surnamed Wang is his family's steward, and he has appeared with him a few times. Feng Lin was someone who could not keep secrets. Since the head of the college examination was staying next door, he told Xiao Lulang, Du Ruhan, and Lin Chengye about it. Feng Lin said, At that time, I even joked that this guy might have bribed the examiner to swap Liolong's examination paper. This guess was not without reason. Xiao Liolong's performance was too outstanding in the early stages. He was the best candidate for the head of the examination. There were only 2 types of people who could benefit from pulling him down. One type was those who were just above the line. As long as they could pull down someone who was sure to be in the top 50, their chances of passing the county examination would be much higher. The other type was those whose results were on par with Xiao Liolong's. If Xiao Lulang was pulled down, he would be the first. However, there was no evidence, so they could only give up. Moreover, Xiao Lulang himself did not care. Although Xiao Lulang did not care, it did not mean that Gu Jiao did not care. Gu Jiao's eyes flashed dangerously. What did you get in the provincial examination? 11th. Lin Chengye said. He remembered very clearly because he did not think that he would pass the provincial examination. He did not know how many times he had secretly read the examination paper at home. From first to last, he could recite it backwards. Feng Lin's provincial examination score was 17. He was 6 places ahead of Feng Lin. In Yuzhou, it might be okay, but in the capital, it was not enough. The capital was filled with top scorers. Who would care about a provincial capital's 11th? He Jinghong did not even pass the Imperial College. It was very likely that he would not pass the Imperial examination. As long as he passed the Imperial examination, the Duke Luo's household would have the power to control him. Although the court examination was hosted by the Emperor, it was actually the deepest pool of water. It was true that the Emperor hosted the court examination. The Emperor could kick out the candidates he did not like on the spot. He could also remember the candidates he liked. However, It was impossible for the emperor to mark all the candidates' examination papers alone. The examination papers were still marked by the court officials. They would pick out a dozen or so outstanding papers. The emperor would look through them one by one or interview them. Then, he would choose 3 first-rank grand scholars. At this point, it was the game between the emperor and the court officials. Among the dozen or so candidates, there were bound to be candidates from the major powers. There would also be candidates that the emperor had his eyes on. If the emperor wanted to protect his own people, he had to tolerate the court officials' people. Otherwise, if the court officials ranked the candidates the emperor had his eyes on outside of the top 10, the emperor would not even have the chance to promote them. Even if these people did not squeeze into the first-rank or first-rank lists, they were still official second-rank grand scholars. There was no risk of them becoming third-rank grand scholars. Of course, the court officials could not go overboard. If they stuffed an idiot into the examination, the emperor would still be angry. For someone like Yi Jinghong, one could say that he was not talented. He was, but he was not outstanding enough. Moreover, he had achieved good results all along. If he could achieve outstanding results in the general examination, wouldn't it be more logical for him to be sent to the court examination? Is the emperor so cowardly? Gu Jiao asked. Du Ruhan sighed. In the past, Empress Dowager Zhuang was the one who ruled from behind the curtains. The power of the court was in the hands of her brother, Grand Tutor Zhuang. This year, the situation might change slightly. After all, Empress Dowager Zhuang is ill and has gone to the temporary imperial residence to recuperate. The power of the Zhuang family is not as strong as it used to be. However, it is also because of this that the various powers have to seize this opportunity. Otherwise, once the emperor takes back all the power, it will be difficult for them to control the court examination. Feng Lin and the other 2 spent a happy day in by Shui Alley. Du Ruhan lost so badly that he lost all his allowance for the next month. The old woman happily counted the money in her room. Feng Lin and the other 2 bid farewell. Before they left, the 3 of them looked at Xiao Lulang strangely. Xiao Lulang frowned. What's wrong? The 3 of them shook their heads. Nothing, nothing. Since Zhao Nyang asked them to pretend that they did not know anything, then they did not know anything. The 3 of them got on Lin Chengye's carriage and left. He turned around and entered the courtyard, only to find Gu Jiao coming out. It's so late, are you going out? He asked. Gu Jiao said, Oh, I'm going to the medical center. Xiao Lulang and the other 3 were on vacation. The second boss also gave Gu Jiao a day off so that she could accompany her family at home. So, according to reason, she didn't need to go to the medical center. And even if she went, she never went empty-handed. She would always bring her own small basket with her small medicine box inside. Xiao Lulang looked at her deeply. Xiao Lulang misunderstood Gu Jiao. She really went to the medical center to see how Gu Chenglin was doing. She already took out Gu Qinglin's medicine and gave it to Dr. Song, so it didn't matter if she didn't bring her medicine box. Gu Jiao swore that she didn't want to find trouble with Yi Jinghong. She still didn't know where Yi Jinghong lived. But she didn't know if her luck was too good today, but when she came out of the medical center after seeing Gu Chenglin, she bumped into a group of birds. Young Master He, the parrot you wanted is here. A peddler handed a birdcage in front of a noble young master. He removed the cloth covering the birdcage and said, I spent a lot of money to get this. At first, the other person didn't want to sell it, but I spent a lot of effort to convince her. My aunt likes to raise birds, the noble young master said. The peddler smiled and said, I'm not bragging, but young Master He, you can't find a smarter parrot in the capital. The Duke's wife will definitely like it. The noble young master was very satisfied. He threw a money bag to the peddler and ordered his attendants to take the birdcage. Then, he turned around and walked into the alley. His surname was He, and his aunt was the Duke's wife. The characteristics were too obvious. Gu Jiao couldn't ignore it even if she wanted to. I didn't want to find you. You came to me yourself, right? Gu Jiao followed him. Young Master He personally brought the birdcage over. As he walked, he thought about his aunt's expression when she was amused by the parrot. His mood was very good. He entered an alley. 7 or 8 attendants followed closely behind him. Originally, they were following him well, but unexpectedly, Shwa. One was missing. Shwa. Another one was missing. Young master, he turned around to take a look. He faintly felt that something was wrong, but the alley was narrow. After a while, he didn't notice that there were fewer people. Shwa, shwa, shwa. When he turned around again, there was only one attendant left behind him. That attendant's eyes were wide open and his face was filled with fear. Young master, he was shocked. What happened to you? The attendant fell down with a thump. Gu Jiao appeared in front of young master He. She was wearing a narrow-sleeved green robe. Her hair was as black as ink. She used the white jade hairpin Xiao Lulang gave her to tie it into a single bun on her head. Her black hair was like satin, flowing naturally in the cold wind. Her eyes were cold and revealed a trace of disdain. He Jinghong, she said. Young master, he blocked the birdcage in front of him. Who are you? How do you know my name? Gu Jiao said bluntly, I heard that you cheated in the college entrance exam. Young master, his eyes flashed. What nonsense are you talking about? I didn't. It seemed like there was. There was no need to talk nonsense. Gu Jiao sized him up and her eyes fell on his legs. She was thinking about whether to break his legs so that he wouldn't be able to crawl to the exam venue, or break his arms to take revenge for Xiao Liulong's college entrance exam. In the end, He Jinghong hugged the birdcage and ran away without saying anything. Gu Jiao didn't even bat an eyelid. She jumped up and stepped on the wall, jumping over his head. She turned around and gave a roundhouse kick, causing him to flip in the air and fall to the hard ground with a thump. The birdcage also fell to the ground and broke. The parrot that he spent a lot of money on flew away. Young master, he was a pampered aristocrat. When had he ever fallen like this? He felt as if his brain was about to scatter, and his internal organs were about to shift. Gu Jiao walked over calmly and looked down at him. She coldly grabbed his collar and lifted him up like she was picking up a little chick. But she suddenly felt that something was wrong. A black shadow fell by her feet. She followed the shadow and turned her head to look. Xiao Lulang had come to the alley and was standing at the entrance, looking at her without blinking, and He Jinghong in her hands. Gu Jiao's eyes rolled. She blinked and said innocently, He fell. I helped him up. She paused and said with a serious face, I don't fight. Xiao Lulang, He Jinghong, you go back first. Xiao Lulang said to Gu Jiao. Oh. Gu Jiao gently let go of He Jinghong. She was especially gentle. Be careful, don't hit your head. He Jinghong was trembling all over. Gu Jiao left obediently. Xiao Lulang calmly reached out his hand to He Jinghong. He Jinghong looked at him in shock. He had been frightened by Gu Jiao just now. Now that he had calmed down, he remembered who Gu Jiao was. He and Xiao Lulang were both in the Imperial College. He paid close attention to Xiao Liulong's every move. Naturally, he had seen Gu Jiao, who always came to the Imperial College to pick him up after school. He Jinghong suddenly felt less afraid. A poor boy who didn't even dare to make a big fuss when someone else changed his exam papers. How dare he be so arrogant in front of him? Because of his disdain for Xiao Lulang, his disdain for Gu Jiao grew as well. He Jinghong grabbed Xiao Liulong's hand and stood up. He supported himself against the wall with one hand and covered his aching chest with the other. He said to Xiao Lulang fiercely, I'll remember this. That woman dared to treat him like this and let go of his expensive parrot. He wouldn't let her have it easy. Looking at He Jinghong's back, Xiao Lulang said calmly, Don't you want me to take the exam for you? He Jinghong stopped in his tracks. Xiao Lulang looked at him calmly. I'll take the exam for you and we'll forget about what happened today. He Jinghong turned to look at Xiao Lulang and narrowed his eyes suspiciously. Is that woman that important to you? Xiao Lulang, I have another condition. He Jinghong, speak. Xiao Lulang said, You have to pay me the remuneration that Steward Wang promised me earlier. He Jinghong said mockingly, Ha, you hit me and you still want a remuneration? Xiao Lulang looked at him coldly. If I hadn't hit you, I wouldn't have agreed at all. He Jinghong's eyes flashed and he carefully calculated in his mind. He had started to pay attention to Xiao Liulong's eight-legged essay ever since he saw the other in Ping City. From the provincial examination to the Imperial College, Xiao Liulong's performance had been impeccable. If Xiao Lulang could really take the exam for him, then he wouldn't have to worry about his exam results. Other than Royal Prince N, no one else could be better than Xiao Lulang. All right, I agree. He Jinghong raised his chin and said, "Words are not proof." Xiao Lulang looked at a study not far away. "You have to write a written pledge that as long as I take the tribute exam for you, you won't cause trouble for me and my family." He Jinghong frowned. "You don't trust me?" Xiao Lulang said honestly, "That's right." "You." He Jinghong choked. But to be honest, he did have the intention to settle accounts later. When Xiao Lulang took the exam for him, he would think of a way to deal with the two of them. Xiao Lulang continued, "Not only do you have to write a pledge, you also have to swear to the heavens that if anything happens to me and my family in the capital, it will be on your head." He Jinghong pointed at his nose and said, "Don't go overboard. If you go out and bump into something, will it be on my head as well?" Xiao Lulang made a sound of acknowledgement. "That's right, it will be on your head. So do you agree or not?" He Jinghong's teeth hurt. Only an idiot would agree. But the temptation of the tribute exam was too great. His aunt said that as long as he could pass the tribute exam, his uncle would have a way to make him a first or second ranking scholar. The Luo family only had one spot. His aunt told him to work hard and not lose to the other relatives. He Jinghong steeled his heart. Okay. No matter what, he had to agree first. Xiao Lulang and He Jinghong went to the study and asked for a quiet room. Xiao Lulang read and he wrote. The general content was that Xiao Lulang agreed to take the exam for him. The specific method was to write down the other person's name on the exam. Xiao Lulang promised to get him into the top 3, and he promised to pay Xiao Lulang 5,000 taels of silver as a reward. "You can't kill the donkey after it has outlived its usefulness and caused trouble for me and my family. You can't take the reward back. You can't find someone to steal it back. You can't rob it back." He Jinghong. Finally, a contract was written and He Jinghong signed it. Xiao Lulang also signed it. He Jinghong said coldly, "What if I can't get into the top 3? Xiao Lulang interrupted him. "I'll refund you half of the reward. If I can't get into the tribute exam, I'll refund you all." He Jinghong snorted coldly. "That's more like it." There were 2 copies, one for each side. He Jinghong paid half of the deposit first. After the results were released, the rest of the reward would be calculated according to the results. After putting away the document, He Jinghong stood up and patted Xiao Liulong's shoulder with satisfaction. "Do well and don't let me down." Xiao Lulang curled his lips. "Don't worry." Xiao Lulang rarely smiled, but when he did, it was mesmerizing. Even a man like He Jinghong was stunned. He quickly came back to his senses and cleared his throat uncomfortably. He turned around and left. Xiao Lulang looked at the document in his hand and his smile gradually turned cold. He turned around and went to the capital office. With a piece of paper, he reported He Jinghong to the court. Before He Jinghong could return to the Duke's public house, he was arrested by the officials of the capital office. He Jinghong was stunned. What was going on? "Yes, it's him. He forced me to write a contract and asked me to take the exam for him. He even threatened me and said that if I didn't agree, he would make my family suffer." In the court, Xiao Lulang said with a pained expression. Xiao Lulang had the title of a high scholar, so he didn't need to kneel. He Jinghong didn't need to kneel either, but he was too agitated. The officials forced him to kneel on the ground in a fit of anger. He Jinghong was going crazy. How could he lie through his teeth like that? Who was the one who forced him to write a contract? Xiao Lulang sighed. He said that his aunt is the famous duke's wife. "I can't win against him. If I don't want to die, I should do as he says. Otherwise, he will kick me out of the Imperial College tomorrow. He Jinghong fumed. I didn't say that. Lord, don't listen to his nonsense. He was the one who made me write a contract. He was also the one who volunteered to take the exam for me. He set a trap for me. Xiao Lulang said, I have no grudge against you. Why would I set a trap for you? He Jinghong said angrily, because your wife beat me. You were afraid that I would take revenge on her. So you agreed to take the exam for me. As soon as he said, agreed, He Jinghong realized that he had said the wrong thing. Xiao Lulang said with a pained expression, Lord, this has nothing to do with my wife. My wife has never seen him. I don't know who he offended. He actually dared to throw dirty water on my wife's head and use this to threaten me. The capital governor had seen a lot of scams like this. He called He Jinghong's servants over. In the end, no one knew that they had seen Gu Jiao. He Jinghong was a scammer. The capital governor asked, Do you have any other witnesses? No. Yes. The two of them said in unison. The capital governor looked at the two of them and frowned. Xiao Lulang, you said there are witnesses. Where is the witness? Xiao Lulang said, in Lord Zhuang's residence. The capital governor's heart skipped a beat. Which Lord Zhuang? Xiao Lulang said seriously, fourth son of Grand Tutor Zhuang, Zhuang Xianji. Damn, the Zhuang family was involved. The capital governor broke out in cold sweat. He had to take this case seriously. Who is the witness you are talking about? Lord Zhuang's nephew, Du Ruhan. Xiao Lulang decisively sold Du Ruhan out. Feng Lin and Lin Chengye only knew that Du Ruhan had an uncle in the capital, but they didn't know who his uncle was. Xiao Lulang knew because he saw Du Ruhan and Zhuang Xianji enter the governor's residence together. Du Ruhan even called Zhuang Xianji his uncle. Zhuang Xianji was the son of Grand Tutor Zhuang. The father and son had different political views, so Zhuang Xianji left the residence. Zhuang Xianji wasn't in the residence, so Du Ruhan came alone. The capital governor said seriously, Top scorer Xiao said that high scholar he threatened top scorer Xiao and asked him to take the exam for him. He also said that you are the witness. Is this true? Du Ruhan glanced at Xiao Lulang. This kid hid it well. He had already found out that they were eavesdropping on him. Yes. Du Ruhan told him about how Wang Yun had threatened Xiao Lulang. He Jinghong's face turned pale. You are lying. Du Ruhan rolled his eyes. Whether I am lying or not, won't Lord Zhuang check? Who are you to say such things? He looked at the capital governor. If Lord Zhuang doesn't believe me, you can send someone to ask around. Many of the neighbors have seen his servant coming. The capital governor really did send someone to ask around. The result was that Wang Yun had indeed been to Xiao Liulong's house. He Jinghong refuted, Lord Zhuang. Don't believe his side of the story. Why would he be at Xiao Liulong's house? They clearly know each other. They are in cahoots. Xiao Lulang sighed helplessly. If they know each other, then they are in cahoots. Young master, he even knows the Duke. Could it be that young master He's actions were instructed by the Duke? This accusation was false. The capital magistrate almost fell off his chair. He Jinghong also choked. He felt that Xiao Lulang was twisting words and forcing logic, but he had no way to refute it. There were witnesses and evidence. He Jinghong could not escape the crime of cheating in the spring examinations. Cheating in the imperial examinations was a serious crime, especially when it was used to extort and coerce others. The crime was especially serious. He Jinghong could forget about stepping into the examination hall for the rest of his life. Since he could not take the imperial examinations, he could only be abandoned by the Duke Luo's household. The Duke would not ruin his own reputation for an abandoned son. He Jinghong also did not have the ability to find trouble with Gu Jiao. This matter was quite big. When night fell, Gu Jiao also found out about it. The two of them took a walk in the courtyard. Gu Jiao asked him, aren't you afraid of putting yourself in danger? After all, he had also signed the document. If he encountered a muddle-headed capital governor, he could be convicted as well. What about you? Xiao Lulang asked in return. Gu Jiao did not say anything. After a while, she said seriously, I said that I only helped him up. Xiao Lulang raised his eyebrows. Oh, then Luo Du and Zhao Rui, you also just happened to help them up? Then you helped them up until they couldn't get out of bed for a few months? Gu Jiao defended her position. I only helped them up. Xiao Lulang laughed softly. This was the first time Gu Jiao saw him laugh like this. So he knew how to laugh, and he looked so good when he laughed. What was that saying? Her brother's smile was not a smile, it was a poison that stole people's soul. Gu Jiao's mind suddenly flashed a thought. This man, in the future, can only smile for her. In the blink of an eye, it was February. The spring imperial examination was coming. Last year, during the autumn imperial examination, Xiao Lulang and his party encountered the hottest provincial examination. This year, unfortunately, there was no spring, only a rare cold. In the capital in February, the north wind blew. On the 5th day of the lunar month, there was a snowfall. The people who fell into the frozen lake during the cable bridge accident did not get sick. Instead, they fell sick in the cold. The business of the medical hall suddenly improved a lot. Gu Jiao let Dr. Song and the others make the medicine into pills. It was convenient to carry around. Even if they had to take the exam, they could continue to take the medicine. The exam was divided into 3 parts. The first part tested the 4 books and 5 classics. The second part tested the 8-part essay. The third part tested the policy. The content and process of the exam was similar to the provincial examination. They had to enter the exam a day before and leave the next day. The first day to enter the exam was the 8th. Gu Jiao woke up early. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/113891225. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 196. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet can be found here. It snowed at night. When she woke up in the morning, there was a layer of ice on the ground and it was slippery. Gu Jiao was already prepared. She spread the sand that she had collected a few days ago on the ground of the corridor and courtyard. She opened the courtyard door and wanted to spread the sand in the alley. However, she saw that everything in the alley was already paved. There was ash and straw mats. Gu Jiao was wondering what was going on when a neighbor opened the courtyard door not far away. A head popped out from inside and smiled at Gu Jiao. Lulang is going to take the exam, right? Aunt Lu. Gu Jiao greeted. She was one of the old lady's mahjong friends and had come to the house a few times. Gu Jiao understood that the road was paved by the neighbors. The materials used by each house were different, so the road was colorful. She always thought that their family was isolated, but the old lady had integrated their family into the alley. Gu Jiao thanked her. After that, a few more neighbors opened their doors and said auspicious words like wishing Xiao Lulang a high school student. Gu Jiao thanked them one by one. Her gratitude came from the bottom of her heart. They weren't Xiao Liulong's family and had no obligation to do this for Xiao Lulang. Their kindness wasn't due to duty, but due to friendship. Of course, it was also thanks to her grand-aunt. If her grand-aunt didn't get along well with them and told them that Lu Lang was going to take the exam, they probably wouldn't even know that there was such a person in the alley. Every household also hung lanterns under the corridor, illuminating the alley brightly. Usually, this was only done during the new year. Gu Jiao curved her lips. She liked the capital. Xiao Lulang also got up and the two had a simple breakfast. They knew that they would get up early and go out, so they let little Jing Kong sleep in the old lady's room last night. The carriage was already waiting at the entrance of the alley. However, it wasn't the old chancellor's carriage but Marquis Xian Ping's. Steward Lu saluted Xiao Lulang and Gu Jiao and said with a smile, "Young master, young madam, please get in the carriage." Not far away, Lu Quan stood beside another carriage with an aggrieved expression. He had arrived a step too late and had been snatched away by this bastard. Although they both had the same surname, they were not related. The iron hooves and wheels of the Marquis of Swamping's Fu had anti-skid treatment according to the standards of war. They could charge and break through enemy lines in a world of ice and snow, so this kind of road condition was naturally not a problem. Steward Lu asked from the outer seat, "Where does young madam want to go?" "The medical center." Gu Jiao said. Half a month had passed, but that brat Gu Changlin still had not been discharged. Gu Jiao planned to drive him away. Steward Lu's attitude towards Gu Jiao had greatly changed. Gu Jiao did not ask why, but from Xiao Liulong's attitude, it was not hard to guess that this illegitimate child had already met with Marquis Xian Ping. Moreover, Marquis Xian Ping's attitude towards him was not too disrespectful. Otherwise, Steward Lu would not have changed his attitude so quickly. At this time, they were not in a hurry. The carriage slowly moved along the main street. Gu Jiao curiously admired the scenery along the way. She had never been to this area before, so it was quite fresh. Just as she was enjoying the scenery, Steward Lu suddenly smiled and said, "Young madam, how did you and the young master meet?" Gu Jiao said, "Your Marquis Xian Ping's residence is so powerful, don't you know how to check it yourself?" "Of course we did. Didn't we need to verify it with you?" Steward Lu had already figured out the reason for his master's loss of composure. This illegitimate child Xiao Lulang actually looked very similar to the young Marquis who had passed away. Their ages also matched. It was just that the young Marquis's birthday was in the 12th lunar month and Xiao Liulong's birthday was in the 1st lunar month. In fact, the interval should have been longer, but the young Marquis was born a month premature. He said to the Marquis, "They are both your flesh and blood brothers. It's not strange that they look alike. Could it be that the young Marquis who had passed away came back to life?" His master clearly understood this, but he still wanted to ask around. Steward Lu smiled and said, "Young madam, when you saw the young master, did he have a mole under his right eye?" "No." Gu Jiao said. Steward Lu said, "You don't have to answer so quickly. Think carefully." Gu Jiao said, "I see him 180 times a day. Do I still need to think about whether or not he has a mole on his face?" Steward Lu was rendered speechless by this. Steward Lu thought that not only did he underestimate the young master, he also underestimated this young madam. She didn't have any of the poor temperament of a poor child. She wasn't easy to handle and wasn't easy to fool. It was true that if they weren't of the same family, they wouldn't enter the same house. The carriage drove on the streets of the southeast district. Because of the exam, several main streets were closed and only examinees were allowed to pass. They couldn't go back the way they came. They changed the street. The shops on this street were very novel and gave people a feeling of red flowers and green willows. "What is that?" Gu Jiao pointed to a loft on the left and asked. Steward Lu said, "Young madam, are you talking about the Jade Fragrance Brothel?" "That's a brothel." Was this the brothel of the ancient times? After being here for so long, she still hadn't seen one. Gu Jiao opened the curtains slightly and curiously looked at the brothel in front of her. Steward Lu turned his head and saw her excited expression. He frowned slightly. Shouldn't girls avoid brothels like the plague when they hear about it? Why did you take a fancy to it? You didn't even blink? What kind of building is that? Gu Jiao pointed to another two-story shop and asked. Steward Lu said, Is it the Cloud Entertainment Hall? It's a theater. Are they here to listen to the theater? Gu Jiao asked. Steward Lu paused and explained, Men are here to listen to the theater. Gu Jiao, oh. The Imperial College was one of the most important schools in the Zhao country. It didn't allow this kind of place to indulge in a life of luxury. Gu Jiao hadn't even seen a gambling house or a martial arts hall, let alone a brothel or theater. Is that a gambling house? Gu Jiao pointed to a shop with a large gambling character hanging in front of it. Steward Lu. Yes, young madam. What about that one? It's also a gambling house. Why isn't there a gambling character written on it? It's a gambling house with a relatively high status. What about this one? An auction house. Gu Jiao asked for a few more places. They were either brothels, martial arts halls, or gambling houses. Her eyes were bright, as if they were emitting green light. Steward Lu. Young madam, is it really okay for you to be like this? When the Marquis asks later, it really wasn't me who led you astray. After crossing this street, the shops became much more serious. Gu Jiao lost interest. She yawned and put down the curtain. Steward Lu, who had carefully chosen the most noble street in the capital for Gu Jiao and had even planned to be a tour guide, was speechless. When they reached the end of the street, a burst of shouting and quarreling attracted Gu Jiao's attention. Gu Jiao opened the curtain a little and looked at the shops on the street. What is this place? This is the Qing Feng Gang. Steward Lu said. Gu Jiao poked her little head out. It seems very lively. What are they doing? Steward Lu helplessly closed his eyes. Betting for the metropolitan examination. Young madam, can you not always be attracted by these shady things? What kind of bet for the metropolitan examination? Gu Jiao asked. Ranking. Steward Lu said. There were many similar gambling houses in the capital, but the most sensational one was the Spring Imperial Examination, which was held once every 3 years. All the major gambling houses in the capital would open the door for everyone to bet. There were all kinds of bets. The most popular ones were the Huiyuan and Zhuangyuan, followed by the Tanhua Zhuangyuan, the top 10 in the Metropolitan Examination, the top 10 in the Palace Examination, and so on. The higher the ranking, the more expensive the lowest bet. For example, the lowest bet for the top 10 in the Metropolitan Examination was 10 copper coins. But the lowest bet for the top 10 in the Palace Examination was 100 copper coins. It wasn't that the more expensive the bet, the more the bet. It mainly depended on the number of people betting. If everyone bet on the same person, then the odds for that person would be extremely low. The most popular person this year was Prince N. From the Huiyuan to the Zhuangyuan, everyone bet on him. In comparison, the competition for the second and third place was more intense. The Chen family's disciple, the Luo family's concubine-born son, the Zhao family's legitimate son. Gu Jiao even saw Du Ruhan's name on the betting list. Gu Jiao scanned from beginning to end. Not to mention the Palace Examination, she didn't even see Xiao Liulong's name in the Metropolitan Examination. What was going on? Her husband wasn't even worthy of being in the top 10? Young madam. Steward Lu followed behind Gu Jiao with a worried expression. Although all the major gambling houses in the capital had set up gambling games, the Cool Breeze house was different. It was actually an elegant place where people could drink tea, taste wine, and enjoy delicious food. One could even listen to storytelling and singing. The top-notch nobles and celebrities of the capital gathered here. Although his young madam was the daughter of the Marquis, she grew up in the countryside. He was afraid. To put it bluntly, Steward Lu was worried that Gu Jiao wouldn't be able to show her face. He wasn't afraid of losing face for the Marquis of Xianping since the Marquis was already shameless. But if she lost face and attracted the ridicule of others, she would be the one suffering. Gu Jiao left in a hurry and didn't bring any money. She turned to look at Steward Lu. Did you bring any money? Steward Lu was stunned. Gu Jiao reached out her hand and made a gesture of taking out money. Steward Lu didn't bring much. He only brought a few pieces of silver. Including the coachman's money, he only brought 10 taels. Gu Jiao walked into the Qing Feng gang. The waiter came forward and asked politely, "Miss, are you here to bet or to drink tea?" "I'll bet," Gu Jiao said. To be honest, Gu Jiao's clothes weren't luxurious. But every year at this time, there would be many commoners who came to bet. Compared to those people, Gu Jiao only had an extra red patch on her face. The waiter was knowledgeable and didn't lose his composure. He enthusiastically led Gu Jiao to the betting table and asked her, "Which master do you want to bet on?" The people who participated in the exam were all scholars with scholarly achievements. It wasn't wrong to call someone a master. Gu Jiao said, "The person I want to bet on, you don't have it on the list." "Which one do you want to bet on?" the waiter said with a smile. Gu Jiao said, "Huiyuan and Zhuangyuan." "Oh, isn't it on top? Look." The waiter pointed at the list hanging in the middle of the hall. Below Huiyuan and Zhuangyuan were Royal Prince An's names. Of course, there were also a few other examinees' names. But it was obvious that those examinees were there to serve as a foil for Royal Prince An. There were very few people who placed their bets and they were all actors. Gu Jiao said, "There's no examinee I want to bet on." The waiter said, "Then, who do you want to bet on?" Gu Jiao said, "Xiao Lulang from the Imperial College." The waiter expressed that he hadn't heard of him. Xiao Lulang had a certain amount of fame in the Imperial College. After all, there weren't many new students who were directly promoted to the Hall of Character. There were only 2 this year. One was Royal Prince An and the other was Xiao Lulang. Furthermore, Xiao Lulang almost always ranked first in the subsequent examinations. He even had a conflict with Zheng Sai, causing him to become infamous. However, those were all internal matters of the Imperial College. Outside of the Imperial College, who would recognize him? In the capital, there were countless aristocratic families and famous scholars. Although they might not be as outstanding as Royal Prince N, they definitely weren't someone a poor country bumpkin could compare to. "I want to bet on him. If he doesn't have it, I'll go to another place," Gu Jiao said and really turned to leave. This was a business with no loss. If his name wasn't on the list, it meant that he was bad. The waiter wouldn't miss out on this business. He quickly called out to Gu Jiao and said with a smile, "Miss, don't go. I'll help you write your name. How much do you want to bet?" The lowest bet for the top 10 is Huiyuan, Zhuangyuan, and Big 3 Yuan. Gu Jiao said. The waiter was stunned. You want to bet on that person?" Gu Jiao nodded seriously. The waiter looked at her as if she was an idiot. All right. He really didn't know where this little idiot came from. This kind of bet was clearly going to be wasted. The waiter said, "Huiyuan is 1 tael of silver per bet. Zhuangyuan is 5 taels of silver per bet. How much do you want to bet?" Gu Jiao said, "All of them." Gu Jiao bet 5 on Huiyuan and 1 on Zhuangyuan. It was exactly 10 taels of silver. They were all Xiao Liulong's name. At this point, Xiao Liulong's name finally appeared on the betting list. Steward Lu shook his head. 10 taels of silver. His 10 taels of silver had been wasted just like that. He really didn't know where the young mistress got her confidence from. She thought that the young master could beat all the other scholars in the capital and become number 1. Even if she only bet on the top 10, it would be fine. Huiyuan, Zhuangyuan. She really dared to dream. Steward Lu followed and whispered to Gu Jiao, "Young mistress, can we leave now?" Gu Jiao paused and suddenly looked at the list that was covered by a translucent curtain. "What list is that?" "That." Steward Lu frowned. The waiter cleverly walked forward and said with a smile, "That's the flower hairpin list. You can also bet on it." "What's the flower hairpin list?" Gu Jiao asked. The waiter said, "The flower hairpin list is a list of the girls. It's the last list to be announced. The examinees who pass the imperial examinations will participate in the court examinations that His Majesty will personally host in the 4th month. Those who do well in the court examinations will be appointed as first-class scholars by His Majesty. They are also known as Zhuang Yuan, and Tanhua. These 3 can wear flowers and parade through the streets. Their flowers can be given away as gifts. Right now, everyone is placing bets on who will be able to obtain a first-class scholar's flower. Can I only get one? Gu Jiao blinked and asked. The waiter's mouth twitched. What do you mean only one? Do you know how hard it is to obtain one? This flower was bestowed by His Majesty and had a special meaning. Most Zhuang Yuan, and Tanhua would not be willing to give it away. Thus, the girls would fight over it. There were some who managed to get it, but that was too embarrassing for the court. Thus, the court forbade fighting over it. There were only 2 ways to obtain a first-class scholar's flower hairpin. The first was for the other party to willingly give it away. The second was for the other party to issue a challenge. The other party could accept or reject the challenge. If the other party lost, they had to give the flower hairpin away. The waiter sighed. Miss, think about it. How talented are the people who can pass the first-class scholar exam? Who can challenge them? Don't even mention challenging their martial arts. They can refuse to accept challenges that they are not skilled in. Thus, unless they are willing to give it away, it has to be a smart girl like the Crown Prince Consort. At the mention of the Crown Prince Consort, the waiter couldn't help but add, Miss, you don't say. There really was someone who obtained 2 flower hairpins. Gu Jiao said calmly, That Crown Prince Consort? The waiter said with a face full of admiration, That's right, it's her. She challenged 2 first-class scholars in a row and won both of them. His Majesty said that she was born as a wrong girl. Otherwise, how could there be any men? Gu Jiao had no feelings towards that Crown Prince Consort. She wanted to see who was on the flower hairpin list. The waiter led her to take a look. There were many ladies' names on the flower hairpin list. Of course, it was not their real names. For example, the daughter of Duke Luo's family was 3rd Miss Luo. The most popular ones were Miss Gu and 2nd Miss Zhuang. She didn't need to guess to know that they were Gu Jinyu and Zhuang Yueshi. Zhuang Yueshi was Prince An's sister. Prince An would definitely be the top scholar. There was a high possibility that he would give the flower hairpin to his sister. As for why he didn't give it to Zhuang Mengdai, Zhuang Yueshi was a talented girl while Zhuang Mengdai was an idiot. Even so, Zhuang Mengdai was still on the flower hairpin list. Her name was 5th Miss Zhuang. She had placed a bet on herself. Below Gu Jinyu and Zhuang Yueshi, it was 3rd Miss Luo, 4th Miss Zhou, Taoist nun Miao Yin, Why was even a Taoist nun on the list? Gu Jiao saw a few familiar surnames on the list. They seemed to be the daughters of the female school. Miss, do you want to place a bet on the flower hairpin list? You can't go wrong if you place a bet with everyone. The waiter pointed at Gu Jinyu and Zhuang Yueshi. There was a high chance that the 2 of them would get the flower hairpin. Gu Jiao was not interested in this. Just as she was about to turn and leave, a woman's voice came from the 2nd-floor corridor. Servant, I want to place a bet. It was Zhuang Mengdai. Gu Jiao raised her eyes and looked. From her angle, she could see Zhuang Mengdai holding Zhuang Yueshi's arm as they walked out from a side room. The 2 of them were wearing veils so they could not see her from their angle. The shopkeeper personally went upstairs and cupped his hands to the 2 of them. May I ask the 2 Miss Zhuang, who do you want to place your bet on? Zhuang Mengdai smiled and said, Place Miss Gu's bet. 5. The shopkeeper warmly said, How much do you want to place? I will write it down for you. Zhuang Mengdai smiled mockingly. Wait, the one I want to place is not Miss Gu who is already on the list. Ah! The shopkeeper was stunned. Zhuang Mengdai looked at the side room across from them. It is Marquis Ding and Fu's eldest Miss Gu. You probably don't know yet, but the Miss Gu on the list is not some Marquis Fu's daughter. She is just a village girl who was mistakenly brought home. The real Gu family's eldest miss is someone else. Your Cool Breeze gang has opened such a large bet, but you don't even know if the person is real or fake. I really feel ashamed for your Cool Breeze gang. She scolded the Cool Breeze gang, but who could not tell that she was insinuating to ridicule Gu Jinyu? Gu Jinyu had also come to place her bet today. She wanted to see how popular she was. Who knew that she would meet a mad dog like Zhuang Mengdai? There were many people in the Cool Breeze gang. Once the news was released, the entire capital would quickly know. Gu Jinyu's face turned ashen. Zhuang Mengdai was in a good mood. She left a copper coin and left. That's right, the flower hairpin list was 1 copper coin for a bet. Zhuang Mengdai only placed 1 bet. Half an hour later, Gu Jiao's name appeared alone at the bottom of the flower hairpin list. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896428286/113862846. HTML Genius 1 second. Remember this website address: www.zhhbqg.com. Biku Gu, a mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 197. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that could not be found online are all available here. Gu Jiao was not interested in that flower hairpin and was even less interested in Gu Jinyu's gossip. She turned and left. Gu Jinyu, who was in Cool Breeze brothel, was in a bad mood. Because of Zhuang Mengdia's words, the faces of the daughters in the room changed. Today was the day of the girls' school and everyone had nothing to do, so they invited her to Cool Breeze brothel to place bets on the spring examinations and the 3-flower list. Gu Jinyu was a strong contender for the 3-flower list. She was born in the Marquis Manor and was the apple of Marquis Gu's eye. She was also deeply doted on by imperial concubine Shu and was conferred the title of County Princess Hui by the emperor on her 15th birthday. Her talent was not known to every household in the capital, but it was well known. After entering the girls' school, she was like a fish in water and took many first places, sharing the limelight with Zhuang Yueshi. Who was Zhuang Yueshi? She was imperial tutor Zhuang's granddaughter, great scholar Zhuang Shenji's niece, and royal prince An's younger sister. It was not strange that she was outstanding. It was surprising that Gu Jinyu could be as famous as her. However, the capital was a place that paid attention to one's birth. It was like this for men and women. Jinyu, is what she said true? A young lady who was usually close to Gu Jinyu asked. A young lady beside her asked, That's right, that's right. Jinyu, young lady Zhuang is speaking nonsense, right? How could you not be Marquis Ding, Anne's biological daughter? Marquis Ding, Anne clearly dotes on you. Although she said this, the eyes of the daughters in the room clearly held a trace of doubt. Gu Jinyu clenched the handkerchief in her hand. She felt her cheeks burning as if she had been slapped in the face. It was also as if she had been stripped of her clothes. All the shame gushed out at this moment. If it was anyone else who said this, she would have denied it. After all, no one would go to the Marquis Manor to verify it. Even if they did, the Marquis would protect her and say that she was his biological daughter. But it was Zhuang Mengdai. Zhuang Mengdai had already confirmed her identity. It was useless for her to deny it. It would only make things worse. Even if Marquis Gu appeared, it would be useless. Someone like Zhuang Mengdai would definitely go to the Emperor or the Empress Dowager and force Marquis Gu to swear to the heavens that she, Gu Jinyu, was his biological daughter. Otherwise, it would be a crime of deceiving the Emperor. This sounded ridiculous, but it was indeed something Zhuang Mengdai would do. Zhuang Mengdai held her sister's arm and smiled proudly at the opposite room. Ha ha ha, nothing to say, right? A fake young lady who uses the name of a real young lady to swindle people all day long. If I were her, I would have long gone back to my own village. I beg those people who are trying to curry favor with me to open their eyes. Not every pheasant can fly to the branch and become a phoenix. Stop talking, let's go. Zhuang Yueshi coldly brought her idiot sister away. I just remembered that I have something to do at home. Miss Gu, let's meet again next time. Miss Su stood up and said goodbye. Me too. I promised to accompany my mother to burn incense. Miss Gu, I'll leave first. Miss Yang exchanged glances with her companions and also stood up to leave the room. The remaining young ladies also left one after another. Those who were too thin-skinned to leave did not continue to bet on Gu Jinyu. Gu Jinyu felt like she was sitting on pins and needles. It was the first time she felt so embarrassed. What made her even more embarrassed was that those young ladies who had already bet on her actually went downstairs to bet on Zhuang Yueshi. The balance of power in the three-flower list had been reversed. Zhuang Yueshi overpowered Gu Jinyu and became the most popular young lady. Gu Jinyu left Cool Breeze gang in humiliation. Miss, are we going back to the residence? The coachman asked. To the Ministry of Works Yamen. She said. Yes. The coachman drove the carriage to the Ministry of Works Yamen. Marquis Gu had just returned from the Ministry of War learning how to blow air. When he reached the yamen, he saw a familiar carriage. He walked over and lifted the curtain to take a look. Jinyu? Gu Jinyu's eyes were red and tears welled up in her eyes. Marquis Gu's heart ached. He sat in the carriage and asked her, "What's wrong? What happened? Did someone bully you?" Gu Jinyu choked with sobs. A servant girl at the side spoke up for her. "Marquis, you have to make a decision for young Miss. Young Miss was humiliated by someone today." Marquis Gu's face darkened. "Who dares to humiliate the daughter of Marquis Ding and Fu?" The servant girl said, "It was Miss Zhuang. She said our young miss was a wild chicken from the countryside." This servant girl was also very capable. Zhuang Mengdai had said so much pain and she had summed it up in one sentence. She had also summed it up with 10 times the damage. Marquis Gu's face became extremely ugly. How could she be like this? Gu Jinyu choked. "Actually, you can't blame Miss Zhuang. What she said was the truth. I am indeed not father's biological daughter. My biological parents are from the countryside. My birth is like that." Marquis Gu said with heartache, "Father will not allow you to say this about yourself. In father's heart, you are father's biological daughter." The servant girl glanced at Marquis Gu and muttered, "Young Miss is in trouble." After 5th Miss Zhuang said this, "No one will bet on young Miss. This is only the first day. Who knows how young Miss will be bullied when she attends the girls' school in the future? Bully his daughter? How could this be?" Marquis Gu did not understand much about betting. He only found out after asking the master and servant that Qing Feng Brothel had opened a bet for the spring examinations. There was a 3-flower roll. It was a bet on who could get the hairpin from the hands of the top 3 scholars. There were 3 hairpin flowers. Prince Anne's was most likely going to Zhuang Yueshi. Weren't there still 2 left? Marquis Gu felt that with Jin Yu's talent, she could win one of the 2. He could not let Jin Yu suffer this grievance. That afternoon, he took out 5,000 taels of silver from the treasury and brought it all to Qing Feng Brothel to bet. "Which Miss Gu do you want to bet on?" the shopkeeper asked. "Are there many other Miss Gu?" Marquis Gu asked. The shopkeeper did not recognize Marquis Gu and smiled as he explained the 2 Miss Gu. "Marquis Ding and Fu has 2 Miss Gu. One is second Miss Gu and the other is eldest Miss Gu. That girl could also get on the roll?" Marquis Gu rolled his eyes. Very quickly, he remembered what the servant girl had said. Zhuang Mengdai had deliberately bet a copper coin on Gu Jiao in order to humiliate Gu Jinyu. It seemed that Qing Feng Brothel had put that girl up at that time. She wanted to compete with Jinyu? Forget it. Marquis Gu did not say anything and bet all on Gu Jinyu. Gu Jinyu's bet immediately caught up to Zhuang Yueshi's. Gu Jiao was still left alone at the end. Imperial concubine Shu also received news of the spring examinations bet and secretly had a eunuch bring the money to Qing Feng brothel to bet. Prince An was certain to win. There were too many people betting on him and the odds were too low. However, Imperial concubine Shu still bet. It was better to earn less than nothing. Imperial concubine Shu also bet on Gu Jinyu and Zhuang Yueshi. There was also Taoist nun Miao Yin. This Taoist nun had some background. She was Grand Secretary Yuan's direct granddaughter. Because it was not easy to raise her, she was sent to the Taoist temple. It was strange. She was clearly an infant who was about to die, but after entering the Taoist temple, she became full of vigor. Imperial concubine Shu had people ask around. Taoist nun Miao Yin could return to the capital at the age of 16. Counting the days, it should be around the release of the results. Imperial concubine Shu felt that just based on Grand Secretary Yuan's reputation, Taoist nun Miao Yin could get a hairpin. Grand Secretary Yuan's youngest son also participated in the spring examinations. His reputation was not as great as Prince An's, but like father, like son. Imperial concubine Shu bet on him to be second. Following this, Imperial concubine Shu also bet on a Zhongnan scholar. This person was quite famous in Zhongnan. 3 years ago, during the spring examinations, he should have placed first. Unfortunately, he fell ill and missed the spring examinations. He had a good relationship with the fifth prince. The fifth prince strongly recommended this person. Imperial concubine Shu believed in her son's vision, so she bet on him to be third. After doing this, Imperial concubine Shu was worried that she missed something. She called her personal palace maid. "Who did the crown princess bet?" The palace maid said, "This slave inquired, the crown princess didn't bet." Imperial concubine Shu didn't understand what the crown princess was thinking. Such a good opportunity to make money, it would be a waste if she didn't want it. The palace maid speculated, "Among these scholars and beauties, only Prince An's talent can enter the crown princess's eyes. But the crown princess can't bet on Prince An." This was also true. Prince An was a member of the Zhuang family. Empress Xiao and the Zhuang family were sworn enemies. If the crown princess bet on the Zhuang family, wouldn't she be offending Empress Xiao? Imperial concubine Shu didn't stand on anyone's side in the harem. She could bet on anyone. After Gu Jiao came out of the Qing Feng house, she went directly to the medical center. Dr. Song had just come out of Gu Qinglin's ward. His expression was complicated. Gu Jiao walked over and asked, "What's wrong? He still doesn't want to leave?" Dr. Song shook his head. "His wound has already healed. The stitches have also been removed. His pulse is very smooth. It doesn't make sense to stay here any longer." Although it takes 100 days to recover from a serious injury, Gu Qinglin was still young and vigorous. He could return to the Fu to recuperate. Why bother staying in their medical center? A large part of the reason why Gu Qinglin didn't want to leave was because he couldn't accept concubine Ling's betrayal. He refused to go back to the place where concubine Ling used to be and refused to hear any news about her. As long as he was in the Fu, these problems couldn't be solved. But he couldn't move to the Fu outside. Old Madame Gu wouldn't agree. Gu Jiao and Dr. Song went to his ward. When they entered the room, Gu Qinglin was lying on his side with his back to the door. The room was very dark, but it could be seen that he had lost a lot of weight. Gu Jiao came to the bed. "If you don't leave now," Gu Qinglin didn't turn around. He just silently raised a banknote. "The medical center's ward is for patients." He raised another banknote. "Business has been very good recently." 8 banknotes. One banknote was worth 100 taels. Gu Jiao put away 1,000 taels. "Take good care of yourself." Dr. Song, after Gu Jiao took the banknotes, she went out happily. On the other side, Gu Chengfeng also finished his homework for the day and came to the medical center to take care of his younger brother. He used to do his homework during the day and do tasks at night. After Gu Qinglin was injured, He did his homework during the day and took care of Gu Chenglin during the night. Gu Qinglin's body was fine, but he became stiff and refused to communicate with others. Gu Qingfeng's secret was actually a little hard to keep from Gu Chenglin, but the silver lining was that Gu Qinglin's current state would not reveal Gu Qingfeng's secret. Gu Chengfeng got up early and worked late. After being squeezed dry again and again, he finally saved up 1,000 taels of silver. This was the last debt. After paying this, he wouldn't have to work so hard anymore. Third brother, when second brother pays off the debt, I'll take you to a better medical center. Gu Chengfeng said as he reached under Gu Qinglin's pillow to feel for his banknotes. He touched it. Nothing. He touched it a second time, still nothing. He pulled out the pillow and sadly found that the 1,000 taels of silver that he painstakingly saved up was gone. He only felt that the sky had collapsed. Third brother, where are my banknotes? On the 9th day of the new year, the first exam officially began. The Imperial Guards had already surrounded the examination courtyard yesterday. Even a fly couldn't fly in. The invigilators took out the exam papers from the sealed boxes and distributed them to each examination shed. The examination courtyard in the capital had 4 examination sheds in the north, south, east, and west. There were up to 500 people in each sheds, adding up to 2,000 exam papers. After the exam papers were distributed, the examinees couldn't start writing immediately. They had to wait for the drum tower to ring 3 times before they could start writing. Shi Yi was the same. After the bell rang 3 times, the examinees had to start writing. Otherwise, it would be considered cheating. There were a lot of examinees in the capital's examination courtyard. Correspondingly, there were also a lot of invigilators. There were people patrolling all day. In this kind of high-pressure environment, it was very difficult to cheat. The weather seemed to be colder. There were even some snowflakes early in the morning. The cold wind whistled. The examinees were all shivering from the cold. They couldn't even hold their brushes firmly. Xiao Lulang ate a piece of soy sauce jerky and a white steamed bun that was dipped in chili. He was sweating from the heat and his hands were very warm. This exam was about the 4 books and 5 classics. There were questions about the 4 books and 5 classics. There were also explanations and discussions. The number of questions was very large. Those who were able to pass this round were all outstanding people. Whether it was their mental state or their true ability, they were all better than those in the provincial examination. The difficulty of the first exam wasn't too difficult for them. They just couldn't handle the cold weather. Achoo! In a certain examination shed, Du Ruhan sneezed heavily. Last night, he kicked off his blanket and was woken up by the cold. After that, he didn't feel very well. He was dizzy and couldn't focus on the questions. Achoo! 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 After a few consecutive sneezes, he felt even dizzier. If this continued, he would definitely fail the exam. Du Ruhan suddenly felt sad. He couldn't fail the exam. If he failed, it would embarrass his aunt. His aunt already didn't have it easy in the residence. If he didn't succeed, his aunt wouldn't be able to raise her head in front of those people. Du Ruhan tried to force himself to review the questions, but his brain was too muddled. He really couldn't do it. He wanted to eat something to refresh himself. When he opened his bag, a small medicine bag fell out. He was stunned for a moment before he remembered that this was given to him by Gu Jiao. She said that it was cold medicine and frostbite cream. The cold medicine could be taken orally 3 times a day, 2 pills each time. The frostbite cream could be used externally. But would it really be effective? If he blindly took the medicine, it would be bad if he got a stomachache. Du Ruhan persisted for another hour. Seeing that the morning was about to pass, he didn't even finish a quarter of the questions. If this continued, it would be no different from giving up the exam. Du Ruhan gritted his teeth and took 2 cold medicine pills and swallowed them with water. Feng Lin and Lin Chengye's exam results were good. It wasn't because they were good, but because this was their first exam in the spring. They were young and already had the title of high scholar. Even if they didn't pass the exam, it wouldn't be embarrassing. Of course, Xiao Lulang still hoped that they could pass the exam, especially Lin Chengye. After all, when Xiao Lulang tutored Lin Chengye, he had promised to refund half the amount if it didn't work. That was more than 2,000 taels of silver. In the evening, the bell rang. All the examinees stopped writing and waited for the invigilators to seal their names and collect their papers. Their papers would first be sent to Qing Hui Hall. The 6 Hanlin Academy examiners would use a red brush to transcribe the papers. The papers would also be sealed and sent to the inner hall. This was to prevent the examiners from recognizing the examinees' handwriting and cheating. The examinees came out on the 10th and the 11th came out again. The second exam was the 8-legged essay. The title came from the Analects of Confucius. Gentleman Zhou does not compare, Guan Zhong's weapon is small. It was another 2 completely unrelated sentences. It was worth mentioning that the sentence, Gentleman Zhou does not compare, had appeared in an exam 11 years ago. In other words, this wasn't a new question. That year, there were quite a few outstanding 8-legged essays. If they wanted to amaze the graders again on this basis, it would be even more difficult. The examinees had to write a new sentence and also take into account the next sentence. The atmosphere in the examination hall was obviously more serious than the first exam. Other than the whistling of the wind, there was only the rustling of the examinees' writing. Not long after, someone fell ill. It was a high scholar in his 50s. He became a shiozai in his 30s and became a high scholar in his 40s. This was his 6th exam in the spring. If he didn't pass the exam soon, he would be 60 the next time. One could imagine the pressure he was under. But the heavens didn't look after him because of the pressure he was under. His body was already weak and he was sitting in the furthest corner of the examination hall. The cold wind blew into his body. In the first exam, he already had a bad feeling. He braced himself and persevered. When it came to the second exam, he couldn't take it anymore and collapsed before he finished writing. If it was just a cold, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But he had a stroke. He could only be carried out by the Imperial Guards. This year's exam was a failure. This was his most well-prepared exam and also his best performance. If nothing unexpected happened, he should be able to pass the exam. Unfortunately, there was an accident. The old high scholar's collapse added a lot of psychological pressure to the examinees. The examination hall became even more silent. While the examinees were busy answering the questions, the 6 examiners of the Hanlin Academy had also finished copying the exam papers for the first exam. The examinees' papers were sealed and placed in special cabinets. Only when all 3 exams were finished would they be taken out and filed together with the red papers. The red papers for the first exam were sent to the inner hall under the escort of the Imperial Guards. The 6 examiners all let out a sigh of relief. One of them saw that there was no one else in Qing Hui Hall and whispered, "I feel like I copied Royal Prince Anne's exam paper." Not only was one question wrong, but the handwriting was also unique. After seeing so many exam papers for the spring imperial examination, the handwriting on that paper was definitely the best. It could almost be compared to the calligraphy of a calligraphy master. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, an examiner opposite him said, "I feel that Royal Prince Anne's exam paper should be with me." He had also copied a perfect answer sheet. It was definitely the kind that couldn't be faulted. Other than Royal Prince Anne, no one else in the entire Zhao country could do it. The exam paper was covered so no one could see who it was. When they copied Shi Ye's paper, they only numbered the ink and red papers. After copying, they placed the 2 papers side by side and stamped the joint. If there was a mistake in the number, they could search for the stamp. The examiners were very careful. Until now, there had never been a mistake in the exam paper. The 2 of them started to argue in a low voice. No one could convince the other. The examinees didn't know anything about the examiner's argument. The exam time was about to end and they were writing furiously. Royal Prince Anne had put down his brush long ago. He would lose his sight at night, so he tried to finish his exam papers in the morning. The bell rang and the second exam was over. The examiners came to seal the papers. There were many people wailing in this exam. It was obvious that the first exam was too smooth, causing them to underestimate the difficulty of the second exam. However, the real nightmare was the third exam. This exam was about strategy. The questions were so tricky that some examinees wanted to faint at first glance. It was actually about the eldest son's virtue. In the spring and autumn annals, it was said that the eldest son was not chosen based on virtue. It meant that only the eldest son had the right to inherit the family property. Even if the son of a concubine was born earlier than the eldest son should be the most important. Unless the eldest son died, then the son of a concubine could inherit the family property. For example, the young Marquis of Zhao Du, he was the youngest son in the family. He had 2 older brothers who were born of concubines, but they did not have the right to inherit. Only he could be called the young Marquis. Now that he was dead, Marquis Xianping's family property should be inherited by the eldest son of a concubine, unless another eldest son appeared in Princess Xianyang's belly. If the family had many sons of a wife, then the eldest son of a wife would be the most important. The eldest son of a wife would inherit the family property. For example, Gu Chongqing of Marquis Dinganfu. These 2 belonged to the eldest son of a wife. The eldest son's virtue matched the position, but there were also those whose virtue did not match the position. For example, the dethroned crown prince. Empress Dowager Zhuang had no children. Noble consort Lu's son was the eldest prince. He was conferred the title of heir apparent by the previous emperor. After he rebelled with the Lu family, he was demoted to a concubine. According to the rules, the second prince should have been appointed, but it was the 5th prince who was the current emperor. After the emperor ascended the throne, he appointed Empress Zhao's son as the crown prince. If one agreed with the idea of appointing the eldest son of a wife and not the most virtuous, then the emperor's throne was not obtained through proper means. But if one disagreed, then they were criticizing the emperor for appointing the crown prince incorrectly. After all, everyone knew that although the crown prince was the son of a wife, he was not the most outstanding of the princes. This was a question that would send them to their deaths. The examinees from Yuzhou all went crazy. Who did the examinees from Yuzhou offend this time? The questions in the provincial examination were about removing vassals. The questions in the metropolitan examination were even more tricky. They were even asking about the emperor's family matters. Although they did not explicitly say that it was a matter of appointing the crown prince, no one was an idiot. Moreover, the appointment of the crown prince was not strictly a matter of the emperor's family. It was a matter of the country. Since it was a matter of the country, there was nothing that could not be used to test this group of high scholars. In short, it was right to test them. Luckily, the weather was cold, so no one got heatstroke. Only 2 old high scholars got a cold. They were all scared by this question. When Princeton received the question, Shi slightly furrowed his brows. He did not understand who came up with this question. Was it Hanlin Academy or His Majesty? If it was His Majesty, then what was His Majesty's intention? Was he dissatisfied with the crown prince? Or was he trying to beat down the Zhuang family who wanted to pull the crown prince down? After all, the crown prince was the crown prince. If it was the crown prince, then it should be imperial concubine Zhuang's eldest prince. Royal Princeton quickly smiled. Interesting. This question was really interesting. Feng Lin and Lin Qingye were basically kneeling at this question. The 2 of them did not have many political cells and could not understand the deep meaning behind this question. They only thought that it was the literal meaning of the question. He was the only son in Feng Lin's family. What was there to appoint? It was all his. Although Lin Qingye was the son of a concubine, his father said that there was no future in inheriting the family business. Only by becoming an official would one have a future. Therefore, his brothers did not want to inherit the family business at all. They all wanted to become officials. If he could not pass the Jinshi exam, then he would have to go back and inherit the family business like his brothers and become the richest person in a region. He did not want to. It was so sad. When Xiao Lulang received the exam question, his expression did not change much. However, he could clearly feel that the difficulty of this exam was higher than the previous ones. He closed his eyes and made a draft in his mind. After he finished, he was not in a hurry to write. Instead, he sat for an hour and overturned his previous thoughts. The examinees in the examination courtyard were all exhausted from the exam. They wanted to throw their pens away. Outside the examination courtyard, on the quiet and cold bluestone path, a thin figure stared at the walls of the examination courtyard in a daze. The exam question was spread out an hour after the exam started. Now, it had spread to all the tea houses and wine shops. However, no one could send in the answers. The man stood in front of the towering wall. He held a piece of paper in his hand. On it was written the exam question. His eyes shone with excitement. He knew how to do it. He knew how to do it. He knew how to write it. No less than 10 answers had already flashed through his mind. He clenched the ball of paper in his hand. His body could not help but tremble slightly. Who is it? A patrolling Imperial Guard noticed him. He broke into a run. In order not to disturb the examinees, horses were not allowed in the vicinity. The Imperial Guards patrolled on foot. However, they were enough to catch this weak man. It's you. The Imperial Guard pinned the man to the ground and recognized him. Lu Yixing. The Imperial Guard was not surprised. The examination courtyard in the capital held all kinds of exams every year. Every time, they would catch this lunatic outside. The Imperial Guard said coldly, "You can't go in. Why do you always come here?" "I'm just passing by," Lu Yixing said. He felt a little uncomfortable being pinned to the ground with his hands behind his back. What happened? Another Imperial Guard walked over. "It's Lu Yixing," the first Imperial Guard said. He actually wanted to chase Lu Yixing away. However, it was clear that his companion did not want to let Lu Yixing off so easily. His companion squatted down and pulled out a piece of paper from Lu Yixing's fist. On it were the questions for today's examination. He immediately laughed disdainfully. "You actually stole the questions for the spring examination. What are you trying to do? Are you colluding with the people inside to cheat?" This kind of exam questions had already been spread out. The Imperial Guard also knew this. However, he did not like this guy and wanted to humiliate him. Lu Yixing was dragged into a side alley. A snowflake-like fist greeted him. He was beaten until his face was covered in blood and his whole body was twitching. "That's enough. It's the spring examination. Don't kill him." The first Imperial Guard could not stand it anymore. He persuaded his companion and pulled him back to the patrol path. Snowflakes fluttered down. Lu Yixing lay on the cold street and looked at the gray sky. He could not see any hope. He wanted to die. However, he also knew that those people would not let him die. They wanted him to live and bear the sins of the deposed crown prince and the Lu family. The cold snowflakes fell on his wounds. If only he could freeze to death like this. He closed his eyes and sneered. Suddenly, the light above his head dimmed and the snowflakes on his body disappeared. He slowly opened his eyes. Someone held an oil paper umbrella for him. The umbrella was painted with flowers and chicks in a very clumsy way. However, the handle of the umbrella was delicately engraved with words. The girl under the umbrella had a jade-like temperament. There was a big red spot on the left side of her face. At this moment, it was as bright as a peach in the snow. Gu Jiao squatted down and put the umbrella aside. He raised his hand to stop Gu Jiao. "Don't move," Gu Jiao said. Lu Yixing did not move. Gu Jiao put the small basket on the ground and took out a small medicine box from it. She took a few tongue depressors and put them in his mouth. "Bite it. It might hurt a little." Lu Yixing bit the tongue depressors. Gu Jiao pinched his right arm and returned to her original position with a crack. And his thigh. This was more painful. Gu Jiao gently put her hand on his left leg and lifted his leg. "I'll count to 3 and then put it back in place. If you can, nod your head." Lu Yixing nodded with cold sweat. This action made him very shy. Gu Jiao, 1. Crack. It was put back in place. Lu Yixing did not even have time to welcome the pain. Of course, The pain was so intense that tears came out of his eyes. However, he endured it. Gu Jiao used the stethoscope to listen to his breathing. When she touched one of his ribs, he groaned in pain. Gu Jiao took back the stethoscope, untied his coat, and put her hand in. He suddenly panicked. "What are you doing?" "Shh, don't move." Gu Jiao carefully touched his ribs. Her movements were very careful. "The ribs are fractured. The dislocation is not very obvious. It can heal on its own." Gu Jiao retracted her hand. This hand was wandering around his chest just now. Lu Yixing was a little embarrassed. "You female doctors are all so. You're a doctor." Gu Jiao corrected him. Lu Yixing did not speak. Gu Jiao stood up. "Wait for me here. I'll call a carriage for you." "No need." Lu Yixing stopped her. Gu Jiao looked at him strangely. Lu Yixing suddenly could not look her in the eyes. He lowered his eyes. "I said no need." Pausing for a moment, he clenched his fists and looked at her coldly. "I'll say the same thing again. If you saved me so that I can repay you one day, then you're wrong. You should have bet your chips on those examinees, not me, a street rat that everyone hates." Gu Jiao gave a long sigh. "You still don't believe in yourself." Lu Yixing laughed at himself. "You're wrong. I'm a waste that doesn't even have the qualifications to take the imperial examinations." Gu Jiao said, "Oh, you want to take the imperial examinations?" Lu Yixing turned his face away. "I don't want to, and it's impossible." Gu Jiao said seriously, "There's nothing impossible in this world." "Is that so?" Lu Yixing sneered. A cold wind blew, and Gu Jiao's oil paper umbrella rolled over. Little Chick wearing a small flower on his head appeared in front of him without any warning. He suddenly laughed. His laughter was full of ridicule. "Have you heard of the flower hairpin for the grand scholars? Every year, His Majesty will personally appoint 3 first-rank grand scholars and give them flower hairpins. If you can get their flower hairpins, I'll believe you. There's nothing impossible in this world. Remember, it's not 1 flower, it's 3 flowers. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Even the current crown princess only got 2 flowers. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that you can't find on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/896428226/113832968. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhhbqg.com. Chapter 198. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. On the 15th of February, the 3rd round of the examination came to an end. The candidates spent an exciting and difficult night in the examination hall. On the 16th, they were released from the examination hall after another round of strict body searches. There were many people outside the examination hall. Gu Jiao came early and got a good seat. The door of the examination hall opened and the candidates came out one after another. Except for the county examination, Gu Jiao took over Xiao Liulong's examination. Gu Jiao missed the other provincial, college, and provincial examinations because she was out of town. This was the first time Gu Jiao waited for him to come out of the examination hall in a sea of people. It was very similar to the family members outside the examination hall in her previous life. Fortunately, She didn't have to wait for too long before she saw Xiao Lulang coming out with a bag. She could see him in the crowd at a glance. It wasn't because he was holding a walking stick, but because of his temperament and appearance. He was one in a million. The corners of Gu Jiao's lips curled up as a smile appeared in her eyes. Xiao Lulang also saw her and walked through the crowd towards her. Her eyes seemed to be sparkling, brighter than the stars in the Milky Way. "How are you? Are you okay?" Gu Jiao took the bag from his hand. It wasn't heavy, so she put it in her small basket. Xiao Lulang nodded. "Yes, it's quite smooth." The first 2 rounds of the examination were very cold, but the weather was good for the 3rd round. "Why are you here?" Xiao Lulang looked at Gu Jiao's son. Little Jing Kong crossed his arms in front of his chest, raised his chin and snorted, "Do you think I want to come? It's not easy to have a day off. If it wasn't for Jiao Jiao, I wouldn't have come." "Little thing." Xiao Lulang played with his buzz-cut hair, which was getting prickly. The group turned around and walked towards the alley. Lu Quan was already waiting for them. The family of 3 got into the carriage. Little Jing Kong sat opposite Xiao Lulang with his arms crossed in front of his chest and looked at him seriously. Xiao Lulang was baffled by his stare and asked, "What's wrong? Why do you keep looking at me like that?" Little Jing Kong said sternly, "I want to see how you did in the exam. I want to know if you did well." When he was waiting outside, he had observed the examinees who came out. Some of them were dejected, and some were apathetic. None of them were in high spirits. He was observing which type of bad brother-in-law belonged to. Xiao Lulang gave little Jing Kong a strange look. Gu Jiao leaned over and whispered in his ear, "He has good friends now. He said that if you don't do well, he won't be able to raise his head in front of his classmates." Xiao Lulang was speechless. Gu Jiao said nonchalantly, "The exam is over. The results don't matter." Xiao Lulang breathed a sigh of relief. His wife was so considerate. Wait, wife. Why did he have such thoughts? Before he could recover from his shock, little Jing Kong threw another heavy blow. "Jiao Jiao bet that you'll be the first in the exam." He bet 1,000 taels. Xiao Lulang shuddered. Gu Jiao looked up at the sky. She couldn't see anything. She didn't have anything. The medical center was still in the stage of investing money. Because of the mass production of drugs, they had also set up a small pharmaceutical factory. Xiao Lulang was very curious about where the 1,000 taels came from. Gu Jiao thought, "It's all from Gu Chenglin." Xiao Lulang face-bombed. He only took 9 days for the exam. It was not like the provincial examinations that took 2 months. Why did he feel that his family was turned upside down? "So, did you do well in the exam?" Little Jing Kong asked seriously. Xiao Lulang took a deep breath and said, "Yes. He did well in the exam. Fortunately, he did well in the exam. He didn't let the 1,000 taels go to waste." But then again, the imperial examination was not like mathematics and astronomy. There were standard answers. If it was right, then it was right. If it was wrong, then it was wrong. It was very arbitrary. Therefore, it was not certain whether he could be the first or not. Fortunately, it was only 1,000 taels. If, and he meant if, he didn't get the first place, he could recruit a few more students like Lin Chengye. After working hard for a year and a half, he could fill the gap. But it turned out that he was happy too early. Little Jing Kong nodded seriously. "You'd better do well in the exam. The neighbors also bet on you to be the first." Xiao Lulang was stunned again. How much did they bet? Little tycoon landlord Jing Kong calmly said, "Not much. It adds up to about 7 or 8,000 taels." That was 7,000, 8,000 taels. Xiao Lulang covered his chest. When he returned to Jadewater Alley, the old chancellor called Xiao Lulang over. The old chancellor already knew about the exam questions. Although the imperial court prohibited the leaking of the questions, once the exam started, the questions would be spread out in various ways within 2 hours. Therefore, the examinees were not allowed to enter the court after the exam started. The old chancellor wasn't worried about the first exam. Xiao Lulang had memorized the 4 books and 5 classics. The 4 books were not difficult for him. In addition, the examinees also had to compose a poem with 5 characters and 8 rhymes and 4 classics. Xiao Lulang told the old chancellor about his poem with 5 characters and 8 rhymes and the classics. The old chancellor nodded. There was nothing wrong with it. The old chancellor then asked Xiao Lulang about his 8-legged essay and strategy. The old chancellor had some doubts about the 8-legged essay. Too much attention was paid to the formality and it restricted the examinee's performance. However, he didn't have the final say on this. The emperor also didn't have the final say on this. The rules passed down by the ancestors weren't easy to be abolished. Xiao Liulong's 8-legged essay was also very outstanding. However, the strategy made the old chancellor break out in cold sweat. The eldest son of the first wife had always been a sensitive topic. The current emperor was neither the eldest son nor the eldest son. Strictly speaking, he wasn't considered a sage. He hid it deeper. At least at that time, he didn't seem to be worthy of the throne. Of course, after he ascended the throne, he displayed a series of methods and wisdom that were amazing. Even the old chancellor, who was a senior official of 2 dynasties, didn't dare to say that the emperor didn't deserve to sit on the dragon throne. Compared to the previous emperor, his methods were much more ruthless. At least the previous emperor didn't win against Empress Dowager Zhuang. However, he sent Empress Dowager Zhuang into the temporary imperial residence. In Zhao country, Hanlin Academy would draft a set of questions for the imperial examination in spring every year and send it to the imperial study for the emperor to choose. The emperor would choose 1 set of questions for the main examination and 5 sets of questions for the backup. The old chancellor dared to conclude that Hanlin Academy wouldn't give the questions to the eldest son of the first wife. The emperor must have added it himself. His Majesty is really unpredictable. The old chancellor had the same thought as Commandery Prince, and was the emperor dissatisfied with the crown prince or the eldest prince who coveted the crown prince's position? Or was he warning those princes who were neither the eldest son of the first wife nor the eldest son of the first wife but thought that they were worthy of the throne and could copy his path to the throne? The examinee's answers revolved around which kind of successor was more beneficial to the country or quoted the classics to point out the pros and cons of each of the 3. No matter which one it was all within the scope of hereditary system. However, Xiao Lulang jumped out of this scope. Wasn't this telling the emperor that if his son couldn't do it, then he could change it to someone else's son? This kind of speech could be directly punished in the previous dynasty. However, even in the current dynasty where speech was relatively free, it was still too daring. The old chancellor simply didn't know how this disciple's brain grew. He even dared to write this kind of speech? Fortunately, his last sentence of flattery wasn't bad. The reason why the emperor could inherit the throne was because he was the most capable person in the world. It had nothing to do with birth or bloodline. The old chancellor's cold sweat turned into hot sweat halfway through. Wait a minute. Where did this brat learn how to flatter people? Was he so shameless? Why did he feel that this brat suddenly lit up some kind of incredible skill? He definitely didn't learn it from him. He definitely didn't teach such a little flatterer. The old chancellor felt that there was no problem with Xiao Liulong's ability, so he could only leave the rest to heaven's will. After the 9th day of the spring imperial examination, many examinees fell ill and the business of the medical hall boomed again. At the same time, the batch of golden sore medicine that Gu Chongqing placed before the new year was also completed. Gu Jiao tested the efficacy of the medicine and only sent it to the military camp after it passed the test. Before the new year, she sent a letter to Xue Ningxiang, saying that everything was fine with Zhou Erzwang. Xue Ningxiang replied to her letter, telling her about the village's matters and the progress of the medicinal field. She also sent some things. There were things for her and also things for Zhou Erzwang. Gu Chongqing often came to the medical hall to visit Zhou Erzwang. Gu Jiao gave him the things that Xue Ningxiang sent to Zhou Erzwang and asked him to send it to Zhou Erzwang. If Zhou Erzwang had a reply, she also asked him to send it over so that she could send it back to the village. When she was replying to Xue Ningxiang's letter, Gu Jiao suddenly discovered a very sad thing. That was, Xue Ningxiang's calligraphy was actually better than hers. Gu Jiao, oh, is this girl learning to write from someone? She has improved so much. Xiao Lulang, who was passing by the door, glanced at her and silently went back to the room. He doubled the copybook that Gu Jiao practiced every day. There were more than 1,000 copies of the exam papers for the spring imperial examination. While copying, they were also sent to the Internal Affairs Hall for marking. There were a total of 20 graders, and they were in groups of 4. In other words, every exam paper had to be marked by 4 graders. If 2 of the graders gave an unqualified answer, then there was no need to send the exam paper to the Internal Affairs Hall. However, the graders' unqualified answers were not given blindly. Later, there would be a special person to review the exam papers. Graders who maliciously marked the exam papers would be severely punished. Every group of graders would pick the top 50 out of 500 exam papers and hand them over to the chief and deputy chief officials. These people were basically the candidates who could become tribute scholars. Of course, the chief and deputy chief officials would carefully mark the exam papers. If there were any objections, they would be put aside. The eliminated exam papers would also be ranked according to the results. The chief and deputy chief officials would select the number of tribute scholars from the first few eliminated candidates. In addition, there were 10 special places. These were the people that His Majesty and the ministers had stuffed into the list. The names of these people were directly reported. It did not matter if they were among the 200 exam papers. If they happened to be there, then there would be 200 tribute scholars this year. If they were not there, then there would only be a few more. As for the ranking of these people in the palace examination, it was not the graders' concern. Copying, marking, preliminary examination, re-examination, and ranking. After a series of operations, the results would not be released until next month. Xiao Lulang was very calm. Every day, he took little Jing Kong to and from school as usual. It was no different from the days before the exam. Gu Jiao was also very calm. It was completely impossible to tell that she had bet all her assets. Gu Jinyu had not been having a good time recently. Ever since Zhuang Mengdai had exposed her identity, her popularity in the girls' school had plummeted. Many of the daughters who had tried to curry favor with her in the past had gradually distanced themselves from her. She was so angry that she asked for sick leave at home. On this day, she was recuperating at home when Chi Mama suddenly came to the door. Chi Mama was the old maid by Consort Shu's side and was highly valued by her. Gu Jinyu warmly received her. "What brings Chi Mama here?" Chi Mama patted Gu Jinyu's hand and said with a smile, If Her Majesty didn't ask the Marquis, I wouldn't have known that you were sick. You didn't even tell Her Majesty that you were sick. Don't you know that Her Majesty loves you?" Gu Jinyu was touched and said softly, "It's not a serious illness. It's not good to disturb Aunt." Chi Mama glanced at her. "Are you treating me like an outsider?" Gu Jinyu lowered her eyes and smiled. Chi Mama asked the little palace maid to put a few brocade boxes on the table. "These are all given to you by Her Majesty. There are snow lotuses and ginseng. They are all good things. You must remember to eat them." Gu Jinyu was moved. "Thank you, Aunt." Chi Mama took her hand and said, "We are family. Nyong Nyong has no daughter and has always treated you as her own daughter. You must take care of yourself and don't make Nyong Nyong worry again." "Yes, Jinyu will remember," Gu Jinyu said obediently. Chi Mama went straight to the point. By the way, I came here today for another matter. Her Majesty wants to see you." Gu Jinyu followed Chi Mama into the palace. Consort Shu was the head of the palace. She had her own palace and did not have to let other young masters live in her side palace like a second-rank concubine. She lived in Chongchun Palace with the 5th prince and was very carefree. The weather was good today. Consort Shu was flipping through the 5th prince's homework in the small pavilion of Chongchun Palace. Gu Jinyu went forward to greet her. "Aunt." Consort Shu waved at her. "You came at the right time. Little Fifth just wrote an essay. Take a look." "Yes." Gu Jinyu sat down beside Consort Shu and Consort Shu handed her the 5th prince's essay. The fifth prince was the same age as Gu Chenglin. Every day, he went to the study with his older brothers and was taught by the prestigious scholars in the court. To be honest, the fifth prince was not very talented. His homework was basically done by Gu Jinyu. After Gu Jinyu read it, she smiled and praised, "Your Highness has improved." "I think so too." Consort Shu was very happy with this answer. She asked the palace maid to keep the essay and then looked at Gu Jinyu. She said dotingly, "Child, you did such a big thing in the county city. Why didn't you say anything?" "Huh?" Gu Jinyu was stunned. The change in topic caught her off guard. Consort Shu glared at her and pulled her hand. "Are you still trying to hide it? If I hadn't gone to deliver snacks to His Majesty just now, I wouldn't have known that you did such a big thing behind your family's back. Why are you so secretive?" Gu Jinyu was even more puzzled. What did she do? Consort Shu held her hand tightly, her eyes full of excitement. Bellows. Digression. Can I ask for a monthly ticket? The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642/826/113800449. HTML Genius remembers this website's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Biku mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.